Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to a very special episode of Anarchy Among Friends Roundtable discussion. Before we get started, let me first remind you again that we are covered by the BIPCOT No Government License, which allows for the use and reuse of this podcast by anyone and everyone except for governments and the bludgies thereof. You can learn more about that at bipcot.org. That is BIPCOT.org. We're also protected by Brandenburg v. Ohio 1969, which ruled that the government cannot punish inflammatory speech unless that speech is, quote, directed to inciting or producing imminent lawless action and is likely to incite or produce such action. Therefore, everything said here on Anarchy Among Friends Roundtable discussion is entirely hypothetical. As I said, this is a very special episode. We have some guests in the house because Andrew called them commies.
And so I think, Jason, this is where we leave Andrew to the wolves, right?
they did threaten to do that, to be fair. They did threaten to just leave me to deal with that.
I mean, we are moderately a little bit communistic, but so you're not entirely wrong. I won't say
well,
that.
at least you're willing to admit that.
Diet commie.
Diet
Yeah.
See, I'm in the mutualist, but like on the capitalist side of the mutualist camp. So I'm
I mean that's where I
commie-ish
tipped over
light
right there. Like I'm
That's
like
where, all of us-
libertarians are status light, and I'm communism light.
Yes.
Yeah, I personally, I would say throw me into the voluntarist camp.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
gonna-
where I started.
Yeah, I lean more towards voluntarist, but I guess I've been creeping towards the left, more mutualist than anything else, but I'm still far from considering myself a commie.
See, I'm in that camp. Like I'm a big Karl Hess fan, right? Anarchism without hyphens, right? Like like you do you, don't fuck with anybody, and we're fine. I'm gonna do me. I'm doing mine over here. I don't care. I don't care whether it's a technocracy, a technocrat. If you want to live in a city with taxes and all that other shit, I don't care. Just leave me in mine alone.
That's the cool thing
Black
about
flag.
volunteerism is you can be like anything and a volunteerist, really.
Yep.
Like,
Right.
Obviously
Right.
to an extent, but
Yeah, Black Flag is the only flag for me.
That's it.
I don't know. I like this one. I'm kind of a fan.
I'm a huge fan of that one.
Christopher is showing off his FPC "fuck you no" flag, which I gotta say it's a really nice flag.
It
It's
is. It's
really,
baller.
really
It's not overly priced either.
No.
they're the best. Like none of their stuff is overpriced. They have the best Twitter account of any gun thing ever. They're explicit anarchists. They're the shit.
Yeah,
I love
they're pretty
FPC.
dope. I bought their
I-
their swag pack of that shit, and it's hot.
Yep.
I missed the patch that they sent me when I joined up with them, because they sent me one of the PVC patches that shows the AR sinking into the lake and come and find it.
Nice.
But I seem to have misplaced that one. Or my son
It's
stole
at the
it.
bottom of the lake with the gun.
Voting
Yeah,
patch,
right?
patch.
Yeah, that's
It's in
the
his
one right there.
waterproof
Andrew's
bag.
holding it up.
Oh, that's baller.
I know there's that one kid on Facebook. He's like Man versus River or whatever, and he was in Texas and he found a backpack with a pistol and a bunch of ammo and shit in it.
Is that
He's like-
the guy that does the magnet fishing?
Yeah, and
Oh,
he
okay.
like scuba dives in rivers and like finds stuff with like,
Oh, yeah.
like, magnets and everything. And he in this river in Texas, he found a bag with like a pistol and a bunch of ammo and shit in it. And he's like, "Oh my god, someone lost this!" And all the comments are like, "No, dude, this is someone's stash spot. Put it back. What are you doing?"
Yeah, I recently picked up magnet fishing. It's actually a lot of fun. You never know what the hell you're gonna find.
I'm not a fan of dropping them in the water and hiding them.
No, just at the
Right.
exact moment you think it's time to throw them in the lake is the time to be fishing them back out.
I have
Right.
no boats.
That's why I hate that meme for that reason. It's like, oh, they're coming to get the guns. Better hide them. Like, fuck
Yeah.
you, boomer.
Use them.
Didn't drop my shit.
Yeah.
It's right here.
No,
You
it's time to use it, not time to throw it in the water.
I mean, I've
And
been
it's hanging right here.
I've been advocating advertising, Ben Stone, Bad Quakers, sedition, subversion, and sabotage for like 3 years. It's a little late to try and like, oh, I lost it in a boating accident. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
past
like
that.
that's what our parents' generation did under the assault weapons bans.
I
They
didn't
took
lose
all
shit.
these
There you go.
guns.
Exactly.
Right.
They took
Yeah,
all
I
their
love that
guns
one.
and put them in a fucking attic or some shit, and then their fucking kids discovered it when they moved out of the house and gave it to the fucking police for $30. It's like,
God, I saw that with what was the one of the Chinese AKs, like an original AK that one of the dudes brought back and had it like in an attic or in the back of a closet, and the kid turned it in for like a $250 Walmart card at some buyback.
You know, his father's going, I have no son.
Oh my goodness.
Are you kidding? That's the worst part. And like, you know, for a while I've done a little bit of like helping people authenticate guns and stuff and like collector guns. And there has been a couple that I have seen allegedly over the years that I realized what they were, and I'm like, so don't tell anyone that you have this.
Right.
Because this is a World War II bring back, and this was not registered in the 68 amnesty. And if the ATF finds out you have it, they will simply destroy it.
And shoot your dog in the process, probably.
Yeah, and there's no, I mean, like,
you're gonna have a citation somewhere.
Yeah, and if you call them and you have them come and get it and you surrender it, you don't like they don't take parts off of it or anything because it's historically valuable or anything. They simply destroy it. However, you also got to remember that at least right now in the United States, the only serialized part that counts as a gun is the receiver. Mm-hmm. So if you give them the receiver, you can keep all the other parts and take those and sell them. And if you have like an FG-42 sitting in your attic unregistered, do not give them the fucking parts. Just give.
You can email me at
don't say shit.
yahoo.com.
Yeah, exactly. I will fucking come to your house and collect that shit for you.
Yes, just hit me up on Signal. I'll be.
If it makes you feel better, I'll even put on the jacket that says AFT on it, according to Biden.
I'll come be a dick to you and give you the experience if you really want it.
Shoot your dogs, harass your kids.
I'll hold your family at gunpoint. We'll set fire to your house. It'll be a
flashbang.
I'll stay for a long time.
Yeah. So now that we've all Fed posted, our guest, our beloved guest that came because Andrew called them commies. I'm gonna keep bringing that up, by the way. You guys, introduce yourselves. Give us the 30-second Jeopardy answer on who you are and all that good stuff.
I'll start off. I'm Trashman. One, I guess, like 4th or 5th of Big Igloo Boys back in the day on Facebook, and now I'm Trashman on Twitter because we're banned everywhere else. So fuck it.
Hey, that's why I'm on Twitter.
Yeah, so most of us.
It's the last fucking bastion.
I'm the only person I know that does that claims the Boog thing that hasn't had a Facebook ban.
Well, wasn't it just the other day?
I did all.
You posted something in our group chat that showed all of the people that you had originally tagged in it, like me.
Yeah. It was some meme from 2 years ago, and I tagged like 8 or 10 people in it, and all of them had the Facebook blackball.
I don't know a single person that hasn't, and you're the first person I've heard that has not had one. And you're saying at all?
I've had the most I've had is a 3-day.
Wow.
I mean, to be fair, that was last year. Yeah. Trailer made it through. It's fine without getting banned somehow, but
that's true.
You know, that's why we call her a Fed as well. Because like anyone who's still left on Facebook.
She did lose her IG, didn't she?
Yeah, true. Yeah, they
nuked my IG the same day they nuked my Facebook.
See, I still have my Instagram.
Trash and I got banned on 5 platforms in the span of about an hour.
To be fair, we spent years getting banned before that anyway.
Yeah, and even MeWe got us, or MeWe, however the fuck you say it, got us.
Yeah,
even Keybase got us. Keybase kicked us off. You remember that?
Well, Keybase got bought up by.
They still occasionally try to charge me for my own. I had a Big Igloo Boys, Trash and I did on MeWe or whatever, and I was paying for it. They still try to ding my card for the page.
How did you get banned off of MeWe? Jesus,
they never said. They didn't say we violated TOS. They just said we no longer have an account. And I mean, fuck, we rarely ever posted on there. Trash did more than I did, but it was never anything. It was always, innocuous fucking.
The MeWe days of the Boogaloo were some dark fucking times, man.
Oh, they were
Dark
horrible.
fucking times.
I
man.
still
That was
have
bad.
we have our the Inked Anarchist Hootenanny Roundup 2, because my Hootenanny Roundup on Facebook got nuked real hard with all of my side quest memes that I was rocking. and-
That's the question. I mean, I guess we should probably finish the intros before I ask that question. Oldman, you go next. I'm gonna make you do it. Introduce yourself.
Yeah, well, as Magnus said, I'm Oldman. I'm Big Igloo Boys. Obviously, no longer on Facebook along with Trash, and I'm on Twitter now.
Yeah, and I'm Magnus. Just fucking Magnus, random Boogaloo extraordinaire. Fucking far right, far left,
come on
far
now.
top,
Come on.
far
The
down.
Washington Post called you the leader of the Boogaloo movement.
Yeah.
Bro, and don't no,
Good move, bro.
Gore
you think that's
mentioned
the
you
worst
on
part?
Rogan.
Right?
You think that's the worst part of that? In that same article, they described the Boogaloo as the KKK on steroids, which was
Yeah.
the best fucking part.
They
Oh,
also
yeah, you're-
they also doxed you and called your grandmother.
Yeah, Mark Fisher, who for people to understand how crazy this is, Mark Fisher is the senior editor of the Washington Post. He's the one who wrote that article. Mark Fisher called my grandmother and harassed my grandmother for information on me.
That's brilliant.
Yeah,
That's fucking ridiculous,
Respect,
man.
bro. Yeah, you're definitely the leader. You've got all
Oh, no, I fucking hate
you've got
that
all the
shit.
popularity
Stop.
going.
Oh, Captain, our
Stop.
Captain.
Stop.
Jeez.
I salute
That's-
you.
Oh.
Follow you to the end of the earth, if only out of morbid curiosity.
There you go.
But no, that
So-
that was the fucking hilarious thing is I got in an argument with people and they're like some shit-lived lefty fucker on Twitter was like, you're the one that's leading these people and you're conspiring and you have all these plots. And I'm like, first off, I'm not a leader. Second, even if I was, it's herding cats with blow dryers, man. You think I can get anyone in this call to fucking do anything? Like, no, dude. So don't ever fucking call me a leader of shit.
We're exactly as organized as we seem.
Yeah,
Horribly unso.
No fucking.
And in most cases, less.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about it's a decentralized movement, bro. We're not even on the same planet most of the time.
Yeah, there's
no.
there's so
There's
little.
about as much organization as like the government as a whole. I mean, it's completely disorganized and just
Yeah.
fucking distraught.
No.
There's entire cells of guys that will pop up that I'm like, who the fuck is all of that? Like in Texas, Dan Behrman from Dan Taxation is Theft. He
Yep.
had a insulin drive in the middle of the blizzard, and he was passing out illegal insulin to fucking people and
Yeah.
shit like that. There was 10 dudes that were with him, and not even anyone that we know from Texas knew who the fuck those people were. It was
Yep.
so organized, yeah.
Yeah, the Don't Comply Texas guys, they're the same way. They're like, we have no idea who these people are. But
We
they're
couldn't rat
still
on ourselves if we wanted to.
Yeah,
But that's by design. That's the whole
Yeah.
point.
Yeah,
that's
that's
the way
the
it
whole
should
point.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Taking
and that's
notes as I'm here.
as in the early days of the American Revolution, 1770 through 1775 into part of 1776 was the same way, where all of these guys were kind of just operating independently of each other. They all had a general goal, but they didn't really, there was no centralized authority. There was nobody telling them, we're going to do this now. We're going to do this now. Like the Boston Tea Party with Sam Adams getting a bunch of guys drunk in his bar and going, hey, you know what we should do? Fuck those British guys. Let's toss their shit in the fucking harbor. And everyone's like,
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
shocking
The-
amount
the-
of
the
American
first-
history is guys getting
the
drunk in
first
bars.
the first fucking soccer riot of American history, essentially. That was the Tea Party. Just a bunch of wasted lads being
Yeah.
like, fuck it.
and with painted faces even. So really close, actually, to soccer.
Yes, I suppose. Oh,
So,
Lord.
for your guys' benefit, I'm Jason. You guys follow me on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and all that good stuff. I'm a nobody, man. I'm an untrained civilian goofball. I have no military experience. I'm a behind the scenes kind of guy. I as I said, I pushed sedition, subversion, and sabotage. I helped promote some other things, but that's it. I'm a logistics guy. I'm behind the scenes. I don't
Hey,
even
you
like
need 'em.
podcasting. I don't even like podcasts. That's why I have this big ass patch that blocks out half my face because I don't want to
Well, I mean, we all have
It blocks
faces
your
for
chin.
radio, so
So,
we all have faces for radio. So what do you expect? I mean,
True.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Faces for radio. Fuck.
Christopher, throw out your pitch.
I'm just another guy. I came upon anarchism and the whole Boog thing completely organically, thanks to Andrew over there. I'm on Twitter for anybody that's out there listening. Those, all 5 of you, at Valhalarchist.
Twitter's the only thing you're on now, right?
Yeah, I got banned off everything else. Well, I'm
I
on
think Twitter's
MeWe.
the only
still.
thing like all of us are allowed to be on. Really.
Yeah.
I'm on MeWe
Yeah.
still.
You're
with-
on MeWe because you
We'll see
you
how
run
long that
the
lasts.
Wisconsin firearms for sale page on MeWe. So
Yeah, one of the for sale pages. over
Yeah,
there.
yeah, you're on a list. Firearms sales.
Oh, I'm sure.
Dude,
I've been
you
on
know
a
how
list
many
ever
lists
since I
are
met
on.
Andrew. Are you serious?
Yeah, there's our buddy Dirty Anarchist. He was trying to sell an RPK, and it was totally legal. And this guy hit him up and was like, I want to come check it out off of like Craigslist or something. And he started asking like a bunch of weird questions about it, and then showed up, didn't even haggle on the price at all. Like just took it, handed him the money, and drove off. And the whole time we're like, that's a fucking ATF agent.
Oh,
He was
yeah.
hoping
Oh,
he
yeah.
just scored big. Like, got a perfectly legal RPK. He's like, fuck.
They're taking that thing apart, looking for
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but don't underestimate because they have actually done that. There was back in the late 90s, I think there was actually a court case where these ATF agents got an AR-15 and the guy happened to have like a full auto trigger, full auto bolt carrier, stuff like that, all in the gun, but obviously no selector or auto sear in it. And somehow through some magical finagling, they got the thing to fire in full auto and then arrested him for having an illegal machine gun.
Well, that's what they did with that Wisconsin couple or whatever, the awful white lady that was pointing guns at people with her finger on the trigger. The weapon itself was
the McClockies.
Yeah,
No,
McLeod's
they-
case or whatever.
That was in Missouri. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
St. Louis,
Missouri.
weren't they? Yeah.
Yeah,
St. Louis.
the weapon was inoperable, and they took it into the evidence lab and reassembled it so it was operable, and then charged them for having an operable weapon.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it's like Facebook banning you for something you posted 5 years ago, but they changed the policy today. This retroactive bullshit.
Yeah, Facebook banning you for a meme that you downloaded from Facebook on somebody else's account.
Yep. That's how I got
Sorry,
my
guys.
permaban. Is I had a post about there was Peter Griffin with his arm blown off, looking like the guy from Kenosha that Rittenhouse shot, and
I think I know what meme you're talking about.
Yeah, like a year later, they banned me for it, and that's what got me my permaban was that one after it'd been up for a year.
Buddy of mine
It
got
took you a year after Kenosha to get banned. That's crazy. I was gone
Yeah.
long before
No
that.
shit.
We got yeeted fucking. I think if you were trash, wasn't it like June or was it
Yeah, it was-
July? That like
it
the
was June
guy
1st.
The end of, it was June because we did that fucking Reuters
Yeah.
interview,
It
and I
was
was like,
first week
I'm
of
just
June.
happy we're still on Facebook, and fucking
Next day. Bam. No, it was the next
Done.
day.
and they printed that fucking line.
Oh,
And the only thing I said in that's what they printed in that
Fucking
article. I'm like, you
Man.
motherfuckers.
Zuckerberg was like, "The fuck you are."
Yeah, right.
All right,
UN called him
Andrew,
out.
throw out your.
So I'm Andrew, the Inked Anarchist. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. I'm on MeWe. I've been on this podcast for quite a long time now.
Quite a while. Year and a half almost.
Yeah, probably a year and a half.
Something like that.
Well, maybe 2 years. No, actually longer than that. I think I've been on the podcast 3 years.
Either way, yeah.
But my background, I was a Ranger, Charlie 375. I was 3rd Special Forces. I did some work for some people on contract after that. Became an anarchist, became a libertarian leading into the 2016 election, started getting involved in local politics. As a libertarian light, I was still kind of a Republican, got involved with some of the Republican stuff here, saw what was actually going on behind closed doors, which quickly turned me into a libertarian. And then from there, libertarian to anarchist is like 6 months or less.
I
Right.
see you got a tattoo of my pre-Boog life, the little Guy Fawkes mask there. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's how Yeah, that's how I came into all of this. I was like a lifelong activist, and I was heavily involved in the Anonymous movement. I put on 2 years in a row. I organized the Million Mass March in Detroit when they did that whole thing.
Nice.
And then Anonymous fell the fuck apart, hardcore.
Just disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
Just
now I'm
like
a
the Occupy Wall Street thing. It just poof, like one day it was
Yeah,
gone.
gone.
And
Yep.
I didn't get to finish what I was doing. I was a 7N6 signals intelligence in the Air Force, and I did a little bit of stuff with the Anonymous stuff shortly after I got out, because it's a really old movement if you're not familiar with it. It's actually from about mid 2000s forward, and even a little bit before that. And then I ended up I got out of high school and I was kind of left leaning center.
Commie.
About the time. Fuck off. About the time when 2008 rolled around, I
One
was a
of
right-leaning
us.
center. And when 2012 happened, I was far right. And then I met Andrew and went libertarian. And then now here I am.
Shit, dude. I came out of high school as nothing, and then like
God.
2005, 2006, my brother got hurt in Ramadi, got hurt in an IED blast, and I went like 0 to like militant constitutionalist, like 900
like 0
miles.
to Scott Horton in 5 seconds.
Oh, I went beyond Scott Horton. I went like militant constitutionalist, like in the hills, training with guys that are now I consider to be, dumbass fuds. Like,
I was
It's always the
far
bad.
right as could be. Good lord.
Yeah.
I was raised in a Republican household and held on to that shit. Went through the academy, didn't get badged, but went into the Marine Corps, came out, and the VA, believe it or not, started my slow descent into anarchy.
No way.
Believable.
Our perfect institution that is the VA. How could that ever go?
The VA, the same brother that got hurt in Ramadi, one of the screws in his leg would come loose, and he went to the VA, and the VA's like, "Oh yeah, you need to have surgery to fix that." 8 months later, he's under emergency surgery, and they're pumping IV of antibiotics into his heart because the screw in his knee had went sepsis because they haven't gotten around to fixing it yet.
Jesus Christ.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
I had a partial knee replacement and 2 total replacements within the span of a year and a half on one knee. They fucked the partial up, they fucked the first total up, and then had to go back in and do another total in the span of a year. It was 15 months.
That fantastic single payer healthcare. Woo!
Yeah, see, it's always weird
right.
for me because I've like always been fucking radicalized. When I was like 17, I was like a Marxist, Leninist, eco-commie terrorist running around Detroit, fucking like sabotaging city water vehicles and shit. Like,
Raging
Against the Machine the whole time. And
oh yeah, I got the Rage Fist right here on my computer. I'm actually named after the lead singer of that band.
Yeah, I couldn't have been more far right. Obviously, Marine Corps, and then for most that don't know, ex-law enforcement as well. So
you got to define far right. You talking like fucking?
Oh, I was
mega
brought
nationalist motherfucker, or like
Reagan.
super retard.
We're super
like-
conservative. Like my
Oh,
family
yeah.
worshipped Reagan. I thought he was,
Reagan and Bush, not Cantwell.
Yeah, Reagan, Bush, all the way. It was my grandfather was, the sheriff of his county up in Illinois. So naturally, I carried that on down here in the Southeast. And I'm not going to tell anybody what department I was with, but
Nah.
Fun
Worked for
fact,
that.
I was
Did
raised
that
by
for a while.
a sheriff's deputy myself. My mom was the first gun-carrying female cop for the county that I grew up in.
Oh, wow.
Diversity.
yay!
That was in 1989.
Holy shit.
Did she taser
Inclusion is a wonderful
somebody?
thing.
What's
oh,
that?
Yeah,
Did she taser somebody?
but accidentally shoot them in the back.
She tasered me.
Oh. That's what happened.
That's what you missed in Lansing trash when you didn't come up. Is after the protest, we all got hammered and tasered each other for like 4 hours.
I've been tasered. I'll ride the lightning any day over OC.
Oh man,
any day.
why I can't have one in my hand, because I'll look at it and I'll look at my leg and be like,
Yeah,
Jason,
the
you're
pins are
right.
fun to pull out.
Long list of things that happened. That's the problem. It's a long fucking list.
Dude, I was a fucking grunt, all right? Like, I'm infantry. If there was something really stupid that I could do with any piece of equipment anyone handed me, I did
You're
it
gonna do it.
at least 3
Like
times.
Camaro?
Yeah, okay, well, we're not going to talk about the Camaro and the killing of the bald eagle. That was one time, and it was a horrific moment that a lot of people thought was hilarious.
What did you?
I still think
Now you have to tell the story
Because
because Magnus. I saw Magnus's eyes. We're both very intrigued.
So
I
had-
love peak degeneracy and stupidity, so I'm here for this.
Oh, you
I
are
was
on
home.
The right,
You're in the
podcast.
right place, my friend.
I have to set it up by setting the stage visually here. So the Camaro was a bright red 86.
Oh,
Camaro.
That's a grunt
Oh,
Camaro.
beautiful.
It had a huge blower sticking up out of the hood, big Whipple supercharger on it. It
So
had
it was like a 24% APR.
well, no, that I actually bought outright and just built
Oh,
up. The
bonus.
Porsche was what I had bought it at 24%.
Fucking
Oh,
When I married
You are the most. You're the most.
yeah.
generic
and
As-
special forces man
as
I've
a
ever
private.
heard. You had a Porsche.
and he was married to a stripper.
and I was married to a stripper. So it's I'm
Veteran
the most
trifecta.
infantry man in the world.
Yeah, you're,
but-
you're just a pair of Oakleys away from like getting a fucking book deal.
dude, I have 2 pairs of Oakley. And I'm wearing a notch hat. So
No, you
so
can
I
write
had-
some memoirs and a tell-all right now.
I'm not a fucking SEAL. I'm not writing fucking memoirs. But
Wrote a memoir, he'd have to shoot anybody who actually read it.
yeah,
We threw rocks at each other today.
yeah. So the car was bright red, like 86 Camaro, big supercharger, huge American flag patterned bow tie in the rear window. I'm home on leave in my Class A's, driving down the highway, and the extremely loud cherry bomb exhaust flushes a bald eagle from the side of the road that's like feeding on some roadkill, and it doesn't get out of the way in time, and it smashes my windshield, and its foot gets stuck in my windshield, and I'm pretty sure it's dead. I lock up all 4 wheels, slide to a stop, sit there going, no fucking way.
Bro, I'm just imagining being the cop, and you pull up to this fucking
it gets
scene.
better. It gets better.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the cop. So I get out and it's laying there, and I'm like staring at it, and I'm like, no, I refuse to believe this happened. I flat out refuse to believe this happened. There's no possible way. And it goes and flops a couple more times and throws blood across my uniform and my face. So I now have bald
Wait,
eagle.
so
blood.
you're in like full like dress and everything?
Yeah, but I'm in Class A's. Yeah, because I was going to an event when this happened. So this is now soaked in blood, in bald eagle blood, and I'm standing there, and this lady stops, is like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." She calls the cops. This cop pulls up, walks up, stops, stares at the car, looks at me, looks at the eagle, looks at the car, looks at me, looks at the eagle, and goes, "Oh my God."
Like that's literally a meme template, just like a ranger in Class A's with a Camaro with a bloody bald eagle, and it's just a fucking confused police officer
Like,
standing there.
You see the meme template with the bald eagle that smashed through the truck windshield?
Yeah.
Every time I see one of those, I have to send it to Andrew. Be like, "Hey, Andrew." And he always responds with, "One fucking time."
It was one time. I didn't mean to. Yeah, they had to like call in the the DNR had to show up, and it's right next to, it was right outside Reedsburg, so it's right next to where the Ho Chunk Casino, their flagship casino is. So they called some tribal members over, elders, to come get the eagle because they're allowed to. And so then and that elder gets out and looks at it and just takes in the scene and also goes, "Oh my God."
Okay, so now you have to add to the meme template of everything I described, but then like a Native American man in full tribal dress just standing there laughing.
He's probably like in his like 70s, and he is cackling so hard I think he's gonna have a heart attack. And I'm just like, and I'm just like, can somebody do something? And like the eagle's still not quite dead. Every once in a while it kind of flops. I'm like, would somebody take care of that? And the cop just goes, "Do you want my gun so you can shoot it?"
No.
That's like a glitch in the Matrix moment, bro. Like, were you standing there in that moment being like, I've fucking cracked
Do I?
reality?
I mean,
Yeah.
the only thing missing is like a mullet and someone in like cut off jean shorts.
You know, if
Drinking a Miller Lite.
Drinking
This
Miller
is
Lite.
America moment.
Yeah, if
modern day
my
would be
wife
pretty
had
cool.
actually been there, the stripper that I wound up marrying, that's exactly what she would have been in. I mean, she was a stripper. She's a stripper from just outside of a military base in Georgia,
no.
who's from the North Georgia mountains. So let me just set that scene.
You cannot possibly write this imperfectly.
Oh man, I still live in
Yeah.
Jacksonville, bro. So trust me, this is. I walk out the door
Oh.
and see this.
Change
Beautiful.
Andrew. Change Andrew's name on the podcast to Stereotype Guy.
Living
Dude.
meme.
Are you kidding?
Grunts,
Like
man.
I not only all that, but I was SF and I smoke giant cigars and drink whiskey and
Have a fucking tank shell behind you with a pair
Yeah.
of panties on it.
yeah. And so like it's I'm
I have
about
to
as
think this is how
stereotypical.
Jesse Ventura started.
That
Yeah,
glory.
give yourself another 10 years. And you're all afraid of a
You
frog.
just gotta
man.
get bald, and
Accent's
then it's
gonna
just gonna
kick in.
continue.
Probably.
And that's when you do the memoirs.
Yeah. And then I write a memoir.
You got to remember, he was Army Special Forces, not a Navy SEAL. It's required that a Navy SEAL write a memoir.
Yeah, if a Navy SEAL so much as takes a shit, he's got to write an article or a fucking book about it. Goddamn glory hounds.
Oh yeah, that's part of Buds. Is you have to be on a CNN
We have a
segment.
literature
Yeah.
class and creative writing. See, that's the thing about me is like I never even came close to touching the military, but I was raised around grunts. All of my friends are fucking grunts. Everyone I knew was in the goddamn military. So it's just like I know every one of the fucking boot camp hazes, even though never experiencing them.
Oh yeah.
So it's like
Yeah,
All the
we
little
actually had a
fuck
guy
tricks.
in our flight basic that required a towel party.
What? Everybody didn't do those?
No, there was actually we had a couple of flights that came in behind us. They said, nobody came out of their training with any kind of bruising whatsoever. They said, well, then somebody clearly didn't fuck up hard enough.
right?
The kid come out.
Their
The
NCOs
kid come
obviously
out with his
failed
head
them.
stapled together.
That's
Go-
kind of what I was thinking.
The go
Yeah.
get the keys to the Humvee one is always my favorite.
There's actually a funny story about Humvee. It didn't happen to me, but it did happen to one of the guys that I know. He said that they're out on drills, and they have the steering wheel lock. You can lock the steering wheel, so you can start it and drive it, but you can't turn the wheel. And he had an LT that was going to go drive the truck, and they're like, "Oh, LT," and he's like, "Nope, I'm going." And they're like, "Okay." And he got in and started it and just gunned it down the road. And like the road turns about a half a mile up, and they're just
Oh.
watching it, and they're like, how long until he realizes, oh, there's the brake lights. He figured it out.
I was a flyer. We used to send people out after 1,000 feet of flight line, or have them do exhaust samples on the jet engines.
Yeah, the exhaust sample.
Yeah.
You got a 39,000 horsepower or 3,900 horsepower jet engine. Put a plastic bag behind it.
My dad
I'm
spent
sure it'll
19
hold up.
years as a wrench turner in the National Guard, and he used to do the same thing to every newbie that showed up. He's like, all right, so to go in that back supply room, you'll find a box. In that box, you'll find a bunch of black bags. On the box, it'll say sample collection bags. And you bring that out and you hold it over the exhaust on this 5-ton truck, and we'll rev the engine a few times, and you just tie it off, and we send that off to the EPA. And there's this little E1 grunt back there freaking holding it over the exhaust pipe.
Or the boxes of grid squares. We did the grid squares a lot.
Yeah.
Give me
Yeah.
right now, Private, go.
My MOS was a 6173, and airframes was 6153, and both of our shops fucked with each other a lot. We'd send our boots over, go over to airframes and tell them you want a stack of 6153s. Well, they didn't know what the fuck it meant, so you go in there and ask for it and get dogpiled. Heard what a stack of 6153s was.
I fell for it. My first duty station, I showed up, and the guy told me to go pick up an ID 10T form from the CO.
Yep.
Like,
Yep,
God
that's
damn
how
it.
it goes.
I still use that one with new guys that show up in my department. I work in IT and healthcare. New guy shows up, all right, go to the boss, make sure you get your ID 10T form filled out, so you make sure you're HIPAA compliant. He goes, okay. Boss goes, oh God, would you stop it?
Oh gosh, that sounds
So I
like
say
a
always spell it out in your head, because fucking we did that whole thing because we were activists. We were fucking annoying. We were always out, so we'd have fun occasionally. We did the whole thing where you'd pass out flyers about dihydrogen monoxide. How it's killing people all across the country. And these
used
fucking
in nuclear
people
weapons and
people would get so fucking into it. It was so fun.
That's like the old Mark Dice videos where he's offering people to buy like an ounce of silver for $5 or whatever, and people are like, oh no, or trading an ounce of silver for a
Snickers.
for a Snickers bar. And people were taking the Snickers bar.
Mm-hmm.
It just people
All those old Mark Dice
70% of
videos
the
were-
population is idiots.
All the old Mark
yeah.
Dice videos are so good. When he'd walk around and be like, do you know Che Guevara's running for the Senate? And people would be like, oh yeah, it's so awesome. It's like
Oh, God.
2009. It's like,
No.
I think he got a bunch of people with Karl Marx. He's like, how do you think Karl Marx is performing in the Senate? And these people would be like, I think he's doing a good job.
But don't and keep in mind, that vote counts as much as anybody else's. That idiot's vote.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not
Their
just
life
that they're
affects
dumb.
yours.
They're also they really think it's important to prove that they're not dumb. And they only come across as more stupid.
Dunning-Kruger.
Yeah, like people are afraid to say I don't know because I guess it like makes people look dumb to not know things. Like,
honestly,
that's the greatest spot to be, because then you can learn things. If you pretend to know shit, you're already off to a bad start. Because
that was all of his videos with people pretending to know shit or understand what the fuck was going on.
Well, and that's something that I deal with all the time at work is my boss, my new boss, she at least knows what she doesn't know, and she's willing to admit that fact. So if we come across something she doesn't know, she goes, oh, okay, well, he knows, so go ask him.
Yep.
Whereas her predecessor was more of, oh yeah, I know the answer to that, and the answer is way wrong.
Yep. So it's the difference between a staff sergeant and an LT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's because you get a freshly minted butter bar and he knows everything, especially if you see that goddamn West Point ring on his finger, we're so gonna die.
What's the old
ribbon hunting?
Especially when you give him a compass.
Oh,
yeah, I was just gonna bring that the old Terminal Lance cartoon with the two LTs. It's like following the tracks. It's like Navy SEAL track. There's like no footprints, and then like grunt track, and it's just boots, and then like two LT tracks, and there's like going backwards and sideways and around in a circle. And
there was a meme for a while. It was a picture of this bear poking its head up and looking around like in this field, and it's just like Sergeant, anybody?
So
was that fucking Angry Cops video where he's doing land navigation with these fucking like fresh grad West Point kids, and they're like losing shit in the woods and getting like super fucking lost, and he's just stalking them through the woods and making fun of them.
Yep, that's
like, they lost their map. Right. They lost their glove.
My cousin was when he was a 2LT, I used to give him so much shit. Now he's a first lieutenant on the verge of becoming a captain, and I laugh at him still because it's like, you still don't know anything.
No, he's still indoctrinated as hell. Still believes all the same shit that we all got fed because we all got. I mean, that's why so many guys come out of the military as hardcore conservatives. Is that's like basically what's beaten into your head is government good, and and you are taught to kind of succeed on your own, so you're also like, yeah, we need to cut all welfare and everything, ignoring the fact that you're actually living on welfare. You need to cut all welfare and government good and government control good, and yeah, we need to go invade all these places and kill all these brown people. Like, you come out that way, and it takes a lot to break it. I mean, one of the things I always bring up is in the special operations community in general, but special forces specifically, there's a huge amount of anarchists that come out of that because we all see what's really going on and how things really work. And we're chosen because we're smart, because we think independently. So when we come out, we're like, yeah, fuck those guys.
Yeah, I would say they didn't get the rare people who get radicalized when they're still over there, because my friend Gunther, he's the best example of that. He got a detail because he was infantry of defending the fucking cargo planes that they were loading the poppy seeds on, and he was like, "What the fuck is this?" And he as soon as he got out, he like snuck photos over and everything, and he was just like running around people like, "Hey, look at what they're doing in Afghanistan, just ganking opium out of there in the fucking planefuls."
Yep. Same thing as Air America back in the Vietnam War, as moving drugs. Same thing as Iran Contra and all of that. And there's the documentary that actually, Jason, thank you, and Chris, I just mentioned it too, but it's called The Last Narc. It's on Amazon Prime. It's about Kiki Camarena and his murder and stuff. And what you find out about that murder and how much the CIA was very, very obviously involved is horrific.
Yeah, I live in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area. So Gary Webb is still a big deal around here. That name for the Mercury News still carries a lot of weight, and that was a huge red pill for me. Is reading about that and committing suicide by shooting himself twice in the back of the head.
Yeah,
really,
Right.
really. Come on now.
That was the first time I kind of noticed maybe something's amiss in what I'm being taught. Because I'm old enough to have been around for that, and it just never seemed quite right to me. And the older people in my family were still, no. What you're hearing is crazy. It's nonsense. He committed suicide.
Yeah.
Totally buying into it.
That was like a Ruby Ridge for me. I was 12 when Ruby Ridge happened, which the anniversary, that's like 3 weeks from now. But watching Ruby Ridge, the weeknight news, the nightly news, it'd have a 5-minute segment on it. And I remember my dad and my mom arguing about it. My dad's like, "Oh, the blah, 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 blah." My mom's like, "They just wanted to be left alone," and this and that. I remember like taking my mom's side on that and be like, this is wrong. Like, and it didn't, I remember saying it was wrong then, but like, it wasn't something that changed me. I was only 12 years old. So I just went back outside and finished playing. But it wasn't until I had kids that like things like Ruby Ridge were like, fuck, like that was a huge.
I was 7 when Waco happened, and I can remember watching it with my parents on the TV, but it not really registering until I got into my AP government class senior year of high school, because we covered that as one of our meeting topics, as we called it. And I was the only person that actually sat on the opposite side of the room from everybody else who was defending the government's actions. And
that was before a lot of the lies even came out about it. Like, we started learning more shit about how everything was bullshit about that entire story.
Yeah, they didn't even actually wind up charging him. I mean,
right.
I think that says everything right there.
For me, like I said, I was always just kind of crazy because my dad, he was in Detroit during like the crack epidemic. So when I was born up north in northern Michigan, it was always just like JFK conspiracy documentaries playing on the TV when I'm like 3 years old, and like my dad telling me about like the CIA creating the fucking crack epidemic and shit. So I was like a young little shit, and I would get in trouble too because I would talk about the shit at school, and my parents would get in trouble. My dad would be like, "Can you stop?" If
you guys really want to hear more about that, go listen to Magnus's episode with Thaddeus Russell, Unregistered Podcast. That was a fantastic episode. Magnus talks all about that stuff with his growing up, and
my dad,
I think that was the first time I heard your speech in January. And then I heard you on Liberty Lockdown, but that episode with Thaddeus, that was the first time I went like, oh shit, like this guy gets it.
I'm real fucking weird.
My dad
you gotta be weird to survive this fucking world.
Oh God, yeah. My dad was class of 68, so I can remember him talking about in private amongst his brothers about how fucked that whole thing was. And I really didn't put much stock into it until I got out of high school and really started thinking about it. I was like, wait a second. Why the hell would they think only this goofy bastard with an inaccurate as fuck rifle shot him? I mean, 6.5 Carcano. I mean, in the U.S., a 6.5 bullet is 264. In Italy, a 6.5 bullet is 268. If you were to shoot an American bullet out of an actual Carcano, the rifling would barely touch. There's no way he'd make a 100-yard shot.
Well, it's assuming it wasn't actually surplus Italian ammunition, which it probably was, to be fair. But
if he was a Fed plant.
Well, he was probably actually. See, I don't know how much I think that the feds were involved. However, I do think the mob absolutely was involved.
But the mob were feds, so it's
ish.
They've been in bed for a while by that point.
Yeah, the mob were. I mean, the mob was who got Kennedy elected in the first place, and then Bobby immediately starts going after them, and they weren't exactly going to take that lying down any more than they were going to take Hoffa trying to expose them lying down, and they were demonstrating we can touch anyone we want.
And
you can't touch us.
Right.
Yeah, they financially back the Clintons.
Right. Yeah, the one thing I like personal details or whatever my dad always told me about that kind of like radicalized me towards anarchism is his earliest memory is the Detroit race riots, and then when they burned the whole fucking city down, the National Guard was driving tanks down fucking Woodward Avenue and shit, and he was there during desegregation, and it's something that's not covered a lot, but you can find it from a lot of first party sources. The government intentionally sabotaged desegregation here in Detroit, because what they did was a lottery system where they literally took the black schools and they cut them in half, and then the white schools and they cut them in half, then kicked half those kids out and forced them to go to the other school. And all of his friends had to go to all of his friends stayed at the white school and he had to go to the black school. And it didn't matter how close you lived, didn't matter your situation or whatever. And if you think about it, that's the best way to handle racial tension.
It didn't happen just in Detroit either.
I just last week learned about the segregation wall that cuts Detroit in half.
Yeah, there's so much they don't like talking about Detroit because Detroit's kind of the biggest argument against statism in the world.
There's an actual physical wall, a Berlin-style wall.
That's the same stuff.
That separates neighborhoods in Detroit. That was built to keep black and white neighborhoods separate.
They did that with the cutting of schools in half. They did that all over the country. I mean, it's not an isolated incident. I mean, that's what the whole busing. That's what the whole busing program in the South was about. They were sending kids to schools an hour away. Kids from an hour on the east side and an hour on the west side, crossing them over, and no rhyme or reason to it other than
we had that.
Do this now.
We had that here when I was in high school. We had kids that would come over from El Cerrito and from Oakland and from Berkeley that would be bused all the way to here to California, which is like a 45-minute drive on a good day without traffic. No.
Yeah, I mean the walls. We had the same thing growing up in Ireland. I mean, not in Ireland itself, but he's
Irish born.
Yeah, well, I'm Irish. I'm American born, but I grew up completely in Ireland. Yeah. So I was born here. I'm a natural born American citizen, but I have dual citizenship because my dad's Irish.
Our day will come.
Yeah.
Tell me about your dad.
Well, my dad,
as much as you can legally tell.
Yeah. Growing up, my dad was very politically active. We moved a lot.
Just say it.
He was extremely politically active in the late 80s and early 90s.
His dad is an international IRA fugitive.
Nice.
So he was part of. He participated in the Troubles then.
Oh, very much. But I remember when we were living in Belfast and in Free Derry and stuff, and in Belfast, if you go there are walls separating Protestant neighborhoods from Catholic neighborhoods, and if you dare to go in between, one, like I grew up, and like I deal with a lot of people in the US who are, I mean, like super insulated from a lot of this stuff and don't understand that in Ireland, stop and frisk is totally a thing. Like I would get stopped constantly as a little kid with my friends, stopped by the cops all the time and like, who are you? And they had a notebook and they would write it down. Who are you? Where are you going? Who are you with? Who are you going to see? Where did you come from? Who was there? I got beaten up when I was like 12 years old twice in 6 months by cops in Northern Ireland. They beat you up just because they could. UVF kids, like the kids of UVF guys, would do that too. The loyalists were very, very, I mean, the loyalists are far nastier than the IRA ever will be. The IRA are very much about building community and like, hey, you need to take care of your communities and the people around you, and the UVF doesn't care. And
you see that shit's kicking off again, like very recently. There's fire bombings of cop cars and fucking it's all starting all over again.
He pays very close attention.
Yeah, I actually
if he gets drunk, you can hear the accent come out.
Yeah, it's
kind of cool.
That's a thing. But I actually went, and as soon as I saw that Brexit was going to be finalized and realized, and I said, okay, well now the Brits are going to have one of two choices. They can either give Northern Ireland to Ireland, or they're going to break Good Friday. They don't really have a choice here with Brexit. They're going to have to do one or the other. And I knew they were going to harden the border. And I'm like, hardening the border is specifically listed as a no-go in Good Friday in 97, which means that as soon as they do that, they break Good Friday. And if that happens, the IRA is starting to unify. I mean, notoriously factional, but the news, the truths, the provos, the continuity, they're all starting to work together. And if they're all working together, that's gonna get spicy. And now you have all the masks and lockdowns and all those protests and all that stuff starting to happen. Oh, we
saw the yellow vest protest, a video from that the other day, and they had some girl was wearing a no step on Snick flag.
Yeah. But that's what's so funny to me is like the lefties that I hang out with.
That's that unity you're talking about.
Exactly. But it's so funny because all the lefties I hang out with, they point this out all the time because they're based lefties. They get it. They're like, the left in France and Belgium and Germany are fucking like throwing bottles of piss at cops over lockdowns. And the left here is attacking people that are protesting lockdowns.
The wrong pronouns.
Well, even outside of that, like just on the lockdown issue, which you think would be the most working class fucking like unity fucking thing ever, we're the only country on the planet where the left wing is supporting the government in doing this.
The free speech movement of the 60s and 70s started like 35 miles west of me in Berkeley. Right, and now now Berkeley is like, you have to wear 2 masks, and you have to get all your COVID shots, and you still can't come on campus without a doctor's note.
And you know what's
my friend Ben Heckman got arrested on a campus because he literally like walked onto the campus without a fucking mask, and the cops like gooned him.
Yeah, I know the neighborhood where Thaddeus grew up in.
Yeah, the irony of that with you, Jason, is that about 100 and how far away is Madison from us, Chris? Like
from you, it's about 130 miles ish.
About 130 miles southeast of me is where the progressive movement started, and University of Wisconsin-Madison is where that started.
Yep.
And Wisconsin is traditionally extremely conservative, but the progressive movement started here, and the free speech movement starts in fucking California.
Yeah, we're a clown world. We're upside down. But that's just because left and right don't fucking mean anything in America. Like, we don't have a left wing, and we barely have a fucking right wing. Like, what are the conservatives conserving, and what are the communists communalizing? Nothing. Nothing. It's just a giant fucking government dick everywhere. Like,
well, speaking of that, let's talk about your buddy. Talk about Luau King.
Oh yeah, so my buddy. My buddy John.
What's a backstory on that one?
Okay, so John was instrumental in the founding of a little group called United Pharaohs Guard in Louisville, Kentucky, which was
the Mujahideen.
The Mujahideen. Yep. This was unity before like anybody was doing it. Like, I think there might have been a couple random goons that like showed up to fucking BLM protests or something before that. But like Louisville was like the real big kind of thing where it started kicking off a lot. And they were out there for, I think, like 213 of the 365 days of protest every day. Hawaiian shirts, AKs. Homie had a fucking launcher with no rounds, obviously, but he was walking around with a fucking launcher. They have a bulletproof armored car, and it was the unity shit. Like, they had like Antifa people that were with them. They had Black Lives Matter people with them. Like fucking like hardcore libertarians, anarcho-capitalists, like everything. All of them were just running around together in Louisville, and it was a crazy place, and it was very underreported what went on there, because they were like chucking flashbangs out of fucking helicopters at protesters, and like there was like gunshots going off a lot. Like, it was really wild in Louisville, and they were in the middle of it the whole time. And then 6 months ago, fucking January 6th happens. Well, sorry, it would be later. So So when January 6th happened, John and all of UPG were in signal chats and shit, and they were essentially talking back and forth like, well, if Washington falls, it's going to pop off everywhere. Because at that point, we're all watching Honky Kong happen, and fucking people are climbing the side of the fucking building and shit. So
the spicy unplanned tour.
Yeah, but at that point we didn't know, because we were only seeing the live recordings of people beating the shit out of like, we didn't see the back end where people were like wandering through and posing with cops and everything that came out later. We only saw the cool part of it, I guess you could call. And John's like, yeah, dude, like get your guns and get your kit and like meet up here, because like shit might go down. Which I feel like everyone in this call probably had similar thoughts of like, well, fuck, the country might go to shit. Like, you know. I was on the phone with my dad being like, Dad, get your rifle. I'm coming over just in case the White House falls, you know, because that's just it. But the FBI decided to nab him over inciting a riot for doing that. And
he told everybody to be relatively prudent and be prepared. And that was inciting a riot?
Yep. And he sat in 6 months in solitary confinement trying to get charged for 5-year federal felony for inciting a riot, and he took I think it's called like a no comply plea deal or something like that, and that's why he got out finally. But they were trying to like sweat him out. They had him in a glass fucking box for 6 months, probably trying to get him to snitch on people, probably trying to get him to admit to shit. And finally their case fell through, and he took the plea deal, and he's out on 3-year probation for a text message.
But I mean, they used the A-Trap Brown law against him, didn't they? That's what they actually used, was A-Trap Brown, which is the same thing in the Chicago 7. Anybody who hasn't seen the movie, that's not 100% accurate, but it's decent. It's the same thing that they tried to use against Bobby Seale with the Chicago 7, where Bobby wasn't even there. He had basically had phone conversations with somebody saying like, hey, be prepared, and had nothing to do with it. He wasn't there. He never, participated in the riot, nothing. And they hauled him into Chicago as part of that. Ultimately, they wound up separating him from the trial and everything else, but they did try the exact same thing before with someone else. So this isn't even a new tactic. This is a tactic as old as civil rights protests.
Yeah, and it's funny because literally, I think within like a week of it happening, they did do an anti-fascist activist named Daniel Baker in Tallahassee, Florida. Mm-hmm. He got 5 years federal fucking prison. They actually charged him for a Facebook flyer.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, sweet God, if anyone, I guarantee, I know trash and old and myself, but I don't know about probably you guys
it's
as well.
amazing that we're not sitting in a federal prison right now.
Oh,
right. If that's the standard,
fuck, man, I mean,
holy fuck, dude.
Doing all the shit.
The day after that happened, I was outside because it had snowed here overnight, from 6th into the 7th. And as I'm outside shoveling my driveway, I got a visit. And I was like, oh, well, here we go,
The first of several, as I recall.
Oh, yeah, the first of several. And then they actually sat outside my house for a week straight.
Yeah, Facebook that came out that like everyone that was in those boot groups, Facebook turned all their information over to the FBI late in January 6th.
But the funny thing is at that point I'd already been banned from Facebook for like 3 months.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is that was like the precursor to my speech, because a little like, I don't know, cell, subsection, subfaction, I don't know what the fuck you want to call them. They're called a Liberty Vanguard. It was a boob group. It had like a lot of old guys in it and whatever. we had planned a unity protest at all the state capitals halfway in between the final vote and inauguration. It was going to J17, and we were going to do like a unity protest at like all of the capitals. Well, right, we had been planning that since like fucking June, so like months before. We had all these graphics we were spreading around and everything like that. And after January 6th, the FBI they probably didn't stumble upon them, but they went back to them. And that's when like there was giant conspiracies all in the news that like there was going to be a repeat of January 6th on the 17th, and that was going to be a bunch of far right Trump supporters and shit. No, it was our goofy asses.
Right.
And,
According to the FBI release, John said, "quote Everyone be armed and armored because shit can go south quick, and if it all kicks off in one state, then like dominoes, we all ball." That's like
5 years in federal prison for that.
Five years in federal prison.
That sounds like prudence to me.
Yeah, that's just a prudent, like, hey, FYI, because something might happen here, and you want to be prepared because everybody's going to eat each other.
Right, and that was through a Signal chat. I posted something similar to fucking Twitter. I was literally like, if America's gonna fall, either make it your revolution or it's gonna be someone else's. Like, go out and take go out, like take. I literally said, get in the streets, like take over your community and protect your people. That's way spicier than anything John's fucking said. Way spicy. And I'm not in jail, so it's like, what the fuck?
Yet.
Acting U.S. Attorney Michael Bennett said, quote, individuals who incite riots and commit violent acts in violation of federal law, subjecting citizens to violence and fear, should know they will face swift investigation and prosecution in the Western District of Kentucky.
Wait, incite them to fear? So like the COVID thing, maybe? Or
like and bro, this was in a Signal chat with like somewhere between 5 to 15 other people. It wasn't even public. Like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, and that's exactly why. Well, and that's exactly why I always bring up to people, like, trust me, don't think that Signal is secure because it's not.
No, that actually came out in the Pegasus leaks that they reported on, that they cracked Signal. Like
if you're using a commercially available product, it has backdoors, it has cookies, it has keypad loggers.
If it doesn't,
the main thing the Pegasus system does is it's a kernel based software, and it's even no click. So you could just go to a website that has a fucking infected like ad or something. It'll immediately download onto your phone. It goes right to the interior of your phone, right to the fucking internal processor, everything. Just takes your phone over, and then it just opens Signal. So like, there you go.
I was reading an article that says it doesn't even need that. You can get it from a missed phone call. So they can call your phone and you not answer it. They're still in because they called your phone.
Yeah, and all of your Signal encryption and all of the verifying two sides with the fucking codes and everything. Doesn't matter if they can just open Signal on your fucking phone. You know?
Yeah, if they can just read it, it doesn't matter.
There's acting special agent in charge, Edward J. Gray, of the FBI's Louisville field office. Quote, Mr. Sublitsky's conviction and sentence underscore the FBI's determination that when domestic violent extremists turn to mayhem and destruction, they will be brought to justice.
And I'm pretty sure that was one of the earliest uses of that term that I had heard, was the DVE thing. It was John, and that was long before Biden, long before
turn in your radicalized relatives. Blah, blah. I got at least one liberal aunt that I'm sure has already called them about me.
Oh, I'm pretty sure.
I have a sister that's in the same boat. I'm pretty sure that, especially lately since Biden and his DOJ are like, if you know somebody who might be radicalized, make sure you report them to. I guarantee that's why they've been seeing them more often.
And Chris, you and I mean, because we both live real close to each other, so like we hang out and like go to the range and stuff. Whenever we hang out, there's either a cop or a Fed, or the one time when we went to the range, the ATF showed up. I know he was ATF because this dude pulls into the gun range. We're shooting in this Camaro that's like blacked out windows, it was a Mustang, blacked out windows, blacked out. I mean, just totally ultra dark tint. Pulls up, parks, doesn't get out of the car, just sits there.
Yeah, that's
as we're shooting. Doesn't do anything. Finally, it gets hot enough because it's like 100 degrees out. Finally, he opens his door, and you can see in the door, and that car is nothing but electronics. The whole inside of the car is nothing but electronics.
That's what I was getting. That's what I was getting to there. After January 6th, between that and J17, every motherfucker in the movement got visited by the FBI. I swear, very few people didn't. Like my friend Tim got knocked, I got knocked, Henry, my other dude, got knocked. Like every fucking Andrew got a visit from the feds. Like all of us immediately after fucking January 6th got visited.
See, which is funny because I never got a visit. What happened was they went to Chris's house and asked him about me. They never actually came to my house and asked me. They asked him about me. And I'm like, oh, so you know who I am then. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you're the SDEF dude. Like they don't want to visit you. God knows they're gonna step in a fucking punching pit or some shit outside your apartment.
Right. I'm outside shoveling and they pull up and they're like, "Excuse me, sir, do you have a few minutes to talk?" I was like, "That depends on who the fuck you are." They're like, "Well, I'm so and so."
That's the only proper answer.
No, like I said, I give people full permission to use this anywhere. This was my response. I cracked the window. I looked through the peephole. I saw it was a bunch of suspicious people. I cracked the window. I'm like, "Who are you? What do they want?" Like Agent so-and-so with the FBI and then Agent so-and-so with the Department of Homeland Security. Like, "Can we come inside?" And I just said, "I'm sorry. You guys leave a smell that's really hard to get out of the carpet. Come back with a warrant." And I closed the fucking thing and then they left.
So they asked me, "Can we talk to you?" I was like, "That depends on who you are." The first guy that got out of the truck goes, "Yeah, I'm Agent so-and-so with the FBI." It's like, "Oh, okay. Well, then I have nothing to say to you without an attorney present. So you can get back in your truck and just, fucking go away. Because I have nothing to say to you." They're like, "Well, we just want to talk to you really quick about Andrew." It's like, "But I just told you I have nothing to say to you.
Nothing
So
to say.
You can just get back in your fucking SUV and you can go the fuck away." And they did. And then that night they were sitting at the community parking lot that's just like 20 yards up the hill from my house. And they sat there for literally a week. Then they disappeared and followed Andrew around for a week.
Oh yeah.
And then they came back.
They'll park right up the street from me, and it's so obvious because it's this all blacked out big Chevy SUV.
Yep.
Like, I mean, the logos are blacked out. Everything is blacked out. The window tint is so dark you cannot possibly see in it.
Do you guys think that they think they're undercover?
Oh yeah,
that's what I'm always curious.
Do
they think they're inconspicuous as fuck and they're just in the know, or like they just don't care?
I think some of it's intimidation, but like I've also had them follow me. And keep in mind, I mean, like part of my training was fieldcraft. Like I know how to do this shit. I know how to look for them, and I'll spot them. And like I'll be in the car with my girlfriend, and I'll be like, "We're getting followed right now." She's like, "Are you sure?" "Yeah, hold on." Take a couple of random corners. They take them. See, right there. Told you, they're following us. I'm like, these guys are. It's insulting. It's insult. Do you know who I am? Could you at least put somebody of a decent caliber of talent on me? For God's sake.
Because I can never confirm it, but I always get there was two separate people. They were in the grocery store every single fucking time I was in the grocery store, every time. And I would go I show up
and
there.
you could see them. You can see them because they'll stop on like the end cap and like pick something up and pretend to look at it while they're like halfway in the aisle looking at you.
Yeah, that went on for like a week straight. I think that was like late January after J17. They would just be there every single time I went there, and I'm like, okay, there's a chance that this is just like some crazy serendipitous odds, but it's starting to get fucking suspicious, bro.
Oh, yeah.
I show up at 8 o'clock, you're there. I show up at 10 a.m., you're there. Okay, what's going on?
Yeah.
Well, there was after that second week when they followed Andrew around, I found them. They weren't parked up in the public lot. They were on the street. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna fuck with them a little bit. So I brewed up. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning. I brewed up a full pot of coffee and put it in a thermos. And took it up to him. And I took it up to him. I was like, "Here you go, guys. I know you guys are following me, but I'm not going anywhere for the next couple hours. So you guys are gonna get bored. So here's some coffee to help you stay awake." It was Black Rifle, caffeinated as fuck. I mean, it was gonna keep them awake. And
Black bootleg coffee,
right? But they took it, which was really funny. And so I came back in the house. And about, 3 hours later or so, they took off just sped down the hill because there may have been Miralax dissolved in there with the coffee. And the closest bathroom that's open 24 hours a day is a 25-minute drive.
Yeah, Christopher's not a nice person.
Oh,
I didn't see him again for a
fucking
while.
poop your local feds. That's the new FPC shirt.
Yes. I mean, it's not going to hurt them or anything. It's just going to really inconvenience them horrendously and embarrass them.
Like Magnus said, they leave a smell that is hard to get rid of.
Right?
Really, that's why.
Feds have a scent to them, bro. I swear to God, it's 100% real. They got a smell. It's like fucking. It's like the somewhere between cheap and nice cologne with like whatever the fuck fabric.
And
press
it's
shit.
always like a really neutral smell too. Like it's nothing strong or sharp.
It's
I don't know,
cool
a lot
and
of the-
dead smell.
You know what? it smells like to
Well,
me? It
if they're
smells like
FBI, yeah,
It
if
smells
they're FBI,
aerosol starch.
but I can tell you from experience that agency guys reek like Dracar Noir. That like just fucking every one of them. It's Dracar Noir. It's freaking the douchiest thing ever. They all like it's either that or like the Old English leather aftershave and way too much. Every single one of them. There's like no fucking exception. It's fucking terrible. I dealt with OGA so much and all of them are like that. They're just insufferable.
Well, you have to be a fucking annoying bastard to be a Fed. It's just like bare minimum.
Well, and I mean, keep in mind, OGA is a unique level of Fed. I mean, they're Feds on a level that even other Feds are scared of. So they're all just such horrific douchebags. I can't even like every single one of them. You're like, God, you're insufferable.
So you guys want to go ahead and get into this Battle of Athens thing? Cover that real quick.
Sure.
Yeah, if you want to start the backstory to it while I go piss really quick. Bourbon.
Yeah. Andrew has a military history degree, so he's going to be all over this.
Oh yeah.
We have a saying on the show that Andrew will start ranting. We'll just be like, "Land the fucking plane, Andrew."
Well, we need to hang out and drink sometime. I'm not military history, but I'm doing a dual history anthropology degree.
Oh, okay. I have military history. My girlfriend has most of a degree. She didn't graduate, but she has most of a degree in archaeology. So
Nice.
we're all about history in this household.
I'm starting my sophomore year next. Well, fuck, it is August now, isn't it? The end of this month. Damn, my oldest.
Go ahead.
My oldest is going to be on the same campus, which is pretty cool.
Oh yeah, it's kind of neat. It's like that film that Brian Griffin tried to write.
Right. Except he got accepted to medical school. So anyway, on to Athens.
I was gonna say, if you guys ever find yourselves in our neck of the woods, y'all are more than welcome to reach out. Andrew and I will find a way to meet up.
Most definitely. Magnus stepped away, but I just discovered I'm only like 5 hours away from him, so I need to make a trip up there sometime soon.
Oh yeah, and he's just in the neighboring state to us. So
Magnus is in Detroit.
Yeah,
And
which
then
is where
you
my
guys-
grandparents are from, actually.
Yeah.
Well, my grandpa is from Detroit originally on my mom's side. So
Yeah,
You guys are all like fucking
Is it signed up with-
1,200 miles from fucking California.
well,
get
yeah, as
the fuck
far as
out
we
of
can be.
California.
Yeah, as far as we can be, as long as possible.
Ouch, bro.
I want nothing to do
fucking
with
ouch.
California.
Can't without ending up on the East Coast, which is just as bad.
Yeah, the East Coast is. I mean, well, I used to live kind of on the East Coast, Georgia and North Carolina, but
So, all I really got is I got a summary. It doesn't have a whole lot of backstory, but it has a summary. Because I'm not gonna read that whole big long one that was like fucking 12,000 words.
oh, I mean, it's pretty easy to sum up the stage, to set the stage for that. I think, in my opinion, it's.
Do it then. Start talking.
All right. So in Tennessee, there was, starting the mid 30s, there was this group that has kind of started getting called the Machine, where it's headed by Ed Crump. It's this guy. He started out really poor, marries into money, winds up basically creating a little fiefdom starting in Memphis, and it grows to contain the entire state. So he controls the entire state,
Including sheriffs and politicians and.
Yep. And if there's one thing that they like, it's money. In fact, and Jason, I know you watched the same documentary that's based on the book that that I took this from 1936 to 1946 in McMinn County, which is where this happened in Athens, Tennessee. Alone, the cops pocketed $335,291.50 in one county in one 10-year span. That is equivalent, adjusted for inflation, to $4.5 million now.
Well, it said something.
This is going to be the funniest part about this story is everything that caused this event that's described in that way as such an awful thing. It's just standard practice now.
Yeah,
like I bet average.
I was gonna wait.
I
was gonna wait until the end. I was gonna wait until the end to draw the correlation between what happens going up to Athens and then the correlation to what's happening now.
Yeah, it's pretty blatant. They used here's another one. They would regularly use
the cops were making more money at the time than the vice president of the United States.
Yeah, a county sheriff in Tennessee would make more money because of the fines he would take in than the vice president of the US. They would actively use cops to suppress any political dissidents, anybody who would run against them, to mess with elections. What they love to do is they would try voter suppression, use violence, and anybody who noticed, and that would cause more chaos. And then they'd use the chaos that happened because of their blatant and obvious cheating at elections in order to justify counting the votes in secret.
Yeah.
So that was their excuse. Like, oh, well, obviously everybody's going to be, it's going to be an insurrection and people are going to be, violent at the polls. So clearly we need to count the votes in secret. And they did this for 10 years. And you'll notice the last year was 1946.
Would that have any correlation to the radio flyer wagon worth of ballots that were delivered to Detroit? Or I hate that
whatsoever.
No.
The counting, they were basically screwing with the ballots behind. I mean, it was already all contained. They weren't taking them anywhere. As far as the voting goes, they reduced the voting. The name escapes me now. It's from old. They reduced the polling places from, I think it was 23 to 12.
Yeah, they managed to reduce the number. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were completely blatant about it too. Like, they didn't even try and hide what they were doing. They would.
No, yeah, this was all out in the open.
Yeah, they'd hold up ballots that clearly showed the other candidate and count it for their candidate with no fear of any reprisal. Because what are you gonna do? Call the cops?
And that's one of the things that the guys found when they bum rushed one of the polling centers. They found that something like 1 in 15 votes was actually being counted correctly.
Oh yeah, the sheriffs would like watch over your shoulders as you voted. They would all sorts of voter intimidation of any poll watchers. All this other stuff. They were super, super nasty about it. And then you hit 1946. In 1946, when this happens, the former Sheriff Cantrell of McMinn County he's become a senator by this point. I'm sure in a completely legitimate election. And he wants to run for governor, so he wants to consolidate power, and the easiest way to do that is as a sheriff. So he wants to become sheriff, and then that sheriff, and I can't remember his name, wanted to become senator. So they were basically going to swap seats, and because of their absolute control of the election, the election's a formality here. That's basically something that's just going to happen. But this is 1946. All of these vets from World War II have just come home. And
in some cases,
sorry, go for it.
No, I'm sorry. In some cases they were still, one was a Navy guy, Navy doc, and he's still in Iwo Jima, hearing about what's going on back home. And I remember reading about one that's all he could dream of. He didn't want to fight the Japanese. He wanted to go home and fight this machine.
Yeah,
they were preparing for that.
Yeah, they would receive tons of letters. There's even a letter that we have that I think's going. I don't remember who it's going back to. But it's going back to, or going from one soldier who's now moved to like somewhere in Nebraska, I think, or maybe Kansas. And he's writing to this other guy who still lives back in McMinn County. And he's talking about how, I've been here for 2 years and no one's tried to arrest me. No one's even threatened to arrest me. Like just walking down the street in McMinn County, you would get threatened to be arrested. He mentions in the letter that he had been arrested once just for talking too much. These guys would, to extort money from the vets coming home, they'd arrest them as soon as they got off the fucking bus.
Yeah, as soon as they got off, literally as soon as they got off the bus, it was into handcuffs. Oh, you were drinking in public.
Yep.
Yeah, this is what they're doing.
They took hundreds of dollars off these guys like a day, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Which, at that time, you got how many hundred vets coming back to a single area, and you're taking a couple hundred from each.
Yeah, fresh
That's
with
a
that
lot of
GI
freaking money.
fucking. Yeah,
Yep.
fresh with that GI Bill they just got from fucking coming home. That's been building
Yep.
up for them.
Well, and not only that, but I mean, you were in a war zone. You're not going to spend any money, right? So all this
Exactly.
money is just built up. They know they have all this extra money, so they're really harassing them. On top of that, you have these vets that when they left,
would you
watched,
say they were taxing them?
Yeah, exactly.
I would.
Taxing them hardcore and using civil asset forfeiture. And they were on top of that, you got to remember too, these vets have gone before they went to war. They watch Prelude to War. If you've never seen it, it's on Amazon Prime. I think it might be on Netflix. You definitely got to watch it, but it's the original, the film that they showed people, the Why We Fight. And it talked about all of the voter suppression and all of the nasty stuff that was going on in Japan and Nazi Germany and why that was bad. And these guys from McMinn County got to be watching this going, wait a minute.
Something's amiss here.
Yeah, the very thing that they're fighting is going on in their hometown, and every single one of them was hot as hell about it.
Grandmothers to their mothers, their grandmothers, their sisters, their cousins, like all the stayed back.
Yep.
Yeah, they got to be looking at this and going, "Hey, wait a minute. This sounds awful familiar. I think I know what they're talking about." So they're already getting a little pissed. And then you have our main hero, Bill White, who is just a phenomenal guy. Bill lies to get into the Army at 17, into the Marine Corps. Into the Marine Corps at 17. He's part of the 2nd Marines. And he's part of the 2nd Marines at Saipan and Tarawa, which means he's in the first couple of waves at Saipan and Tarawa. So the first offensive action of World War II, this guy is in. He is actually in combat continuously for 2 years and 4 months before they forcibly send him home.
For people that don't, this was before the Marines understood how to fight the Japanese, knew how to like deal with the bugs and the snakes and the fucking jungles. Like these boys were green as shit, getting just dumped into hell with no like pre-fucking planning or understanding of the terrain, environment, or anything.
Certified hard fuck shit.
They had jungle.
Yep.
They had jungle knowledge. I mean, they had just gotten done in Panama and Nicaragua and all the stuff that was going on down there in the 20s. So they knew how to handle the jungle, but the Japanese were a whole different breed than they were used to fighting.
Oh yeah,
jungle and islands also real different than like Panama or some shit. Like the moment it's surrounded by water, it's like a different fucking problem.
Well, and if you really want to hear it in depth, Dan Carlin does an entire series called Supernova in the East. It's incredibly long. Each one's about 5 hours of his podcast, but it's incredibly good. The Supernova in the East is very, very good at describing what fighting the Japanese for this guy was like. Keep in mind, this guy also had a reputation in town before he left of hunting boar with a spear. So,
yikes!
They don't make them like that anymore.
I just want to point out this dude. He hunts boar with a spear, lies about his age, says he's 18, he's only 17, goes, fights in Saipan and Tarawa, fights across the islands, a whole bunch of island hopping, and he has to be forced home. He doesn't want to leave. He's been in combat almost nonstop for over 2 years and still is like, no, I'm not going to leave my guys. And they're like, no, seriously, you need to go home now.
Jesus.
And I almost wonder if like there's parts of history involved with that, of whether somebody knew what was going on and we're like, this is the dude we need to send back. Like if there's like no, buddy, you need to go home.
Seriously.
It's John Rambo time back at your place.
Oh yeah, well, and the tapes actually there are tapes that exist of Bill White. They up until very recently had never been heard outside of the White family. Although he did do some extensive interviews for the McMinn County Historical Society for their Living History Museum and stuff. But the quote that stood out from him is when he was talking to the guys, because they decided they were going to run what became known as the GI Bill. Or the GI ticket, the GI ticket against the machine. They were going to run against them. It was going to be nothing but GIs, and it's entirely across the political spectrum. It's left, it's right, it's all sorts of people, and they all agree that the machine has got to fucking go, and they're going to run against them.
Yeah.
More unity.
Yep. So they
Magnus and I see we're on it.
But the what Bill White said that stood out to me is he said in those tapes he said, I said you went to war, you survived, somehow you survived, and you thought when you came home you were going to have some measure of freedom, but the reality is you don't.
Ouch.
This was
I feel
back
personally
then.
attacked.
This was back then. It's so much fucking worse now.
Oh god.
At least back then you could disappear in like the middle of nowhere, fucking Kansas, and not see a cop ever in your life. You know, like.
Yeah, this is, I mean, this is 1946, and keep in mind you're looking at the group of veterans who's just come home is something like 2,400 from McMinn County that have just come home.
County, right? Yeah.
Yeah, just like McMinn, where Athens is. Yeah, it's like 2,400 veterans have just come back, and they are all pissed. So
And justifiably so.
This is, they just got done fighting. They just got done fighting socialism and Nazism and, and that the National Socialism ideal. They just got done fighting fascism. They just got done fighting this insane thing that I don't even know what to call it that the Japanese had. They got hyper-nationalism on steroids. They just got done getting rid of that, and then they're coming home to basically the exact same thing in their hometown. 2,400 of them. And they are not pleased. So they're running against them. And then it's election day. And a bunch of them are gathering. They're setting up a post-election day party because they're expecting to win, right? They're like, there's no way we're going to lose. No one wants these guys. And then a guy named Tom Gillespie. So Tom Gillespie, he's a veteran. He had been, I think, a rifleman, if I remember correctly, in the Army. He fought on a couple of islands in the South Pacific. He shows up to the polling place and goes to vote for the GI ticket. And when he does, an officer whose name you will come to recognize, Windy Wise, proceeds to grab him, throw him out of the polling station, beat him up, grab a pair of brass knuckles, beat him some more, and then leave him laying there in a pool of his own blood. Gillespie gets up and walks back in to finish voting.
Chad.
Yeah, like balls. He leans against a wall, because he's just waiting for them to fuck with him at this point. Because he knows how many other guys are out there supporting him, so he just leans against the wall, like, bring it. Absolutely enraged, Wise stares at him, draws his service revolver, 38, and proceeds to shoot him in the polling place, standing on the wall. Just pulls out his gun and shoots him. He would ultimately only serve a year.
My authority.
Yeah. So there's another guy who shows up to try and aid Gillespie, Shy Scott, and when Scott shows up, they're both taken hostage by he was actually I think Scott was actually he was a poll watcher for the GI ticket, and he tries to intervene, and they both get taken hostage by the cops.
Held at gunpoint.
I forget where it falls in the story, but I know that in that interaction there was a black guy that tried to intervene, also got fucked up. I'm forgetting his name, but essentially like there were a bunch of people that were standing around, like stepped up and were trying to like, hey, don't do this, and ended up getting punched in the stomach or fucking screamed at or whatever while they're just
brutalizing this vet. Like,
well, yeah, and that's par for the course for them, because again, what they do is they intimidate everybody with violence. People respond with violence. They use violence against them, and then use that violence as an excuse to then count the secret
justification.
Yeah. So this is their cycle that they use here, which should
look
sound
at any
a
of
little
the
familiar.
Again, sounds extremely familiar.
Yeah, look
Hey,
at
Magnus, aren't you in Michigan?
Yeah, fucking. I mean,
I seem to remember some like tag board and stuff going up on Windows and something like that back in November.
Yeah. And I mean, even like with the BLM stuff, I always bring this story up because people don't realize how bad it was. We're the first night of protest that the riot cops got deployed to, and a kid fucking died, and everything went to shit. It's in a place called Campus Martius, which is like the center of downtown. It's a little park. This is where everyone was at. Right next to that is Greek Town, which is this strip that has all the Greek restaurants and then the Greek Town casino. There was drunk people that were going out of the casino that had no idea what the fuck was going on because they're in a casino, it's fucking loud and everything like that. They go outside into a full riot. So they're like, fuck, we need to go get our cars. A total of like 30 of them just got the shit beat out of them by the Detroit police. Like heads smashed against the ground, fucking punch trash. You shared that video you shared of the guy in Detroit getting punched. That was in Greek Town. That dude had nothing to do with the protest. He's just like, what the fuck's going on? This DPD officer comes up, breaks his fucking nose, bounces his head off the concrete. And like, these weren't even protesters. These were just like
that's
drunk
how it
people
is
at a casino.
That's about par for the course, though.
That's how it is here when Oakland riots, right? I'm like 25 minutes from Oakland with the Johannes Meserly Oscar Grant, right? When Oscar Grant got shot in the back because Meserly was reaching for his taser, right, and shot Oscar Grant in the back. Like those protests, cops were just fucking like firing pepper balls, just like boom, 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 boom around everybody.
Well,
everybody got fucked up.
I mean, you look at Minneapolis when everything was going to shit up there. You had people standing on their own deck, on their own porch, getting shot at. I found out from my sister who lives up there that was across the street from her house. I thought I recognized the neighborhood, but
there's a famous
that happen.
There's that famous girl in Oakland, California, some scrawny, probably like 100-pound soaking wet white girl that was walking out of Whole Foods with a Whole Foods fucking bag and got tagged in the head with a fucking beanbag round and just blew her face up. Like no idea what's going on. So things haven't changed.
Yeah, I mean that's and it's been eerie watching that here in the United States because like I got used to that in Ireland. Like that's a typical response in the early to mid 90s. That's a very typical police response in Ireland. I mean, even after Bloody Sunday, they didn't the Brits especially, they didn't change any of their tactics. I mean, they toned it down a little bit because Bloody Sunday obviously is called Bloody Sunday for a good reason. I mean, and during that, they drove like a front end loader as armor and fired automatic weapons fire willy-nilly into the crowd from the front end loader. And anybody who's American probably doesn't really know what happened on Bloody Sunday other than it turned into a U2 song. Fuck Bono. But I fucking hate him so much. But that what happened that day, no one has ever even been charged for it. Nobody ever will. They at most what they did is they started what would be the Irish equivalent of or a UK equivalent of a grand jury investigation, and it's moving so slow that all of them are dying before they can get charged. And it's intentional. Right. It's transparently what's happening.
We investigated ourselves and found ourselves innocent.
Yeah, well, and that's what's happening. I mean, and they blatantly murdered, women, children. I mean, what Ireland has endured is what's coming to the United States increasingly. So I know what I'm looking at. I know what I'm watching, and I know what I'm about to see. That's why
Andrew's on our side.
Yeah,
just right. Put that out there.
I would tell all these shit libs when I went on their fucking, because in the beginning I wasn't as selective, and I would go on people that are actually like DNC voting fucking normies. I would go on their show, and they'd be like, "Oh, so you're saying that like you're advocating for a second civil war, blah blah blah?" And I'm like, "Do you understand what the Troubles were? Do you not understand that we're living through the Troubles? A guy on Christmas Eve blew up a fucking car bomb while playing IRA music in Nashville. Do you not understand what's going on?"
Yeah.
Like, dude.
Yeah, it's and a lot of the car bombs. It's funny because a lot of the car bombs were actually probably UVF, realistically. At least one, the most famous one that blew up the shopping mall, was not supposed to be timed that way, and was what I've been told by people who I've talked to who would be in a position to know. It was not timed to go off when it did. It was timed to go off a couple of hours earlier, when all of the British soldiers were there, because they would clean out the mall of anybody else, and only British soldiers would be there to shop. That's when it was supposed to go off. And then it got delayed until there was a bunch of regular shoppers there. And there's a lot of evidence that it was actually a tot who knew how to get into it and who messed with it intentionally on behalf of MI5.
That would never fucking happen.
No.
That would
Yeah.
that would never happen in
Because I
Michigan.
was talking, right? Yeah, I was talking to Steve from Slow News Day. He's still one of the big anonymous guys. We were talking about the environmental infiltrations in England during like the 80s and 90s, where they had these feds to gain access to the environmental movement. They fucking married and had children with environmental activists while reporting on them for like 20 years.
Oh yeah.
So like your girlfriend might be a fed and you probably will never know. Like it's like they're committed to this shit. They'll go the distance.
Yeah, and I mean I can remember my dad encountering a couple of tots, and I remember what happened to them, but it wasn't good. We'll leave it there. He didn't
Brandenburg v. Ohio, right? In Minecraft.
Yeah, he didn't appreciate it. We'll put it that way.
Back to our story.
Athens, yeah.
So rewinding the clock back to 1946 in Athens, Tennessee. This whole thing's going on, and Shy Scott finds out that there are a bunch of media directly outside of the polling place, and realizes that the cops are trying to now intimidate the media away, because the local media they had in pocket, right? But you have people there because this is such a major election contested, and like lots of people know what's going on, that you have people from all over the state and outside the state, media people there. So he realizes he has an opportunity here. So he pushes the deputies and he bolts for the glass door on the front of the polling place and throws himself through it. Smashes through the glass door, rolls down the stairs, lands at the bottom, and Gillespie, who's been shot and beaten horrifically with brass knuckles, follows him out. So they manage to escape.
The great escape.
Yeah, they managed to escape, right? Because the cops really can't do anything. However,
yeah, one of the cop like raised his shotgun and was going to shoot the dude in the back.
Why?
And then one of the other cops like at the last seconds like, oh
bro,
no,
there's cameras, bro. Chill, bro.
Yeah, that's
You're
basically
right.
what happened. Yeah, so Wise, the same guy who shot Gillespie inside the polling place, is now aiming his shotgun at them as they run away and getting ready to just kill them where they stand in front of like 10 reporters. And this other cop's like, whoa, no. It's not here. No. So he doesn't.
It goes to show how like little of a fuck they gave, though. Like,
Oh yeah, they didn't care.
Oh,
They've
yeah.
been operating with impunity for 10 years.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah. What do they
It's
care?
For like 50 years at this point, but
Yeah, they didn't
Well,
care.
shit,
Nothing was
they
gonna
were-
happen to them.
Last year of police brutality at protests for police brutality. It's
Yeah.
the same story. It's just in a different place.
You know,
Different age.
They do that here because they have the we have a camera vest law here in Contra Costa County in my area, and so when that kind of thing is going on, they'll have cops and they'll just stand chest to chest, and then like the shit will go on behind them, but all that the camera's caught is the other cop's chest, so there's no evidence.
well, yeah, I mean, California is spearheading the new thing of playing copyrighted music to streamers to get their stream taken down, so they can't live
that
stream what the
backfired.
fuck
That
is happening.
backfired because that went viral.
Yeah, that went
I saw
viral
that.
That
because
went
of it.
viral. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
and
what-
it's
There's also a new California law that the police accountability law, where police have, or the police departments have to, according to state law, they have to turn over their records of punishing officers. My city was the first one to file suit against that.
Well, if
Well,
you
it's
want
funny,
to
too,
hold them,
Let's go for it.
If you want to hold them accountable, make all the lawsuits payable out of the pension fund.
Yeah, that would be.
That'd be quick.
Yeah, well, in
You'd
Wisconsin,
see it change overnight.
Yeah, in Wisconsin, there's a law now that our former governor Scott Walker had actually passed. Ironically, not our current leftist Tony the Tyrant. Our former governor had actually passed a law that said that and this is before, right? This is before George Floyd. He had passed a law or signed into law a thing that says that any police shooting at all, any kind of police violence must be investigated by an independent contracted agency. So it cannot be investigated by the police at all. Not a different department, nothing. It's got to be a different entire entity. And they're not allowed
actually,
to pay for it. It has to be.
You're slightly mistaken in that because the Wisconsin DCI can be that independent agency.
Oh, the DCI can be. Okay, so
you're gonna say somebody, it'll be a bunch of former cops starting the agency to
and that's what
the current cops.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I was going. Is that he passed that, but the reality is that all that's meant to this point is that companies that are staffed by nothing but cops are the ones doing all of the
exactly.
But see, that's not too surprising to me because in Ohio, Maine, and a couple other places, the people leading the fucking charge to end no-knock raids are like libertarian Republicans. Like, and none of the lefties want to help them. Like, none of the Democrats, even though they ran on that shit. It's the fucking, it's like the Ron Paul
They literally
conservatives.
campaigned on Breonna Taylor.
Literally
on Breonna Taylor's body.
Rand Paul introduced introduced the Justice for Breonna Taylor Act, which
say her name.
right.
Duncan.
Yeah, he introduced the Breonna Taylor Act, which would have federally banned no-knock raids across the country, and it sat dead in committee while Democrats were actively running around campaigning on that shit, and then some shit lib fucking Elizabeth Warren protesters surrounded Rand Paul and were screaming, "Say her name!" And he's like, "Dude, I wrote the Justice for Breonna Taylor
I wrote
Act."
the bill.
I remember that.
Yeah, I remember that.
All right,
Those are Elizabeth Warren activists.
Yeah, let's get. That's a whole another level of.
That's
all right.
You guys are
Athens,
commie light, but I mean, you can't get much more commie than like Elizabeth Warren and.
I mean, I still kind of balk at the commie label. I mean,
there's
nothing I believe in. Collectivism is the farthest thing that I'm away from what I believe in.
Let's be honest. The word commie, the idea of communism, it's so fucking watered down. It's like racist now. It's like the term racist or sexist or bigot or whatever. It means absolutely fucking nothing.
I mean, people call me commie and they call me a leftist, and it means as much to me as if they call me, far right.
I'll get called commie and fascist and all sorts of stuff in the same conversation.
I've been called.
My favorite is watching.
We're all in
my
that.
favorite is watching Magnus get called the fascist while he's making a post against.
There's one thread of Magnus's where the lady called him a bigoted fascist racist or something like that. Like and just like in that just in a row.
And he's speaking out against racism and fascism in the whole point of the post.
Yeah, he's got like the rainbow, the "Don't Tread on Me" rainbow flag.
Exactly.
And all this come on
it's
now.
Even better than that, because in that thread, like an actual Black Sun neo-Nazi commented on it. So I'm like arguing with this dude, like, you're an actual unironic Nazi, you fucking loser. Like I'm arguing with this dude, and then the next comment down in that thread is this woman accusing me of being a Nazi.
That's like the lady that told Eric July shut up and let the black people speak.
I remember that.
I remember that.
Fucking Eric July.
July posted the video, "I am black," and the lady deleted her Twitter.
Yeah, she deleted her Twitter completely.
I watch his.
I mean, what else can you do at that point?
Athens, getting spicy.
Okay, so
we gotta finish this. We're getting late.
Okay, so Scott and Gillespie, they managed to make it back to the where all of these other guys are, including our hero Bill White, and they get back there, And so everyone's understandably pissed, and they're trying to formulate what's going to happen. And so they break out guns, and they break out every gun that they have amongst them. It's not quite enough, but they're sitting there and they're like, well, what are we going to do? And then 2 deputies show up looking for Gillespie and Scott. And they're like, oh, are you now? And proceed to disarm them, take them hostage. When they don't return, the local police department sends 2 more. They also don't return. They send 2 more. And then finally, they send 1 more to go check on them. In all, 7 deputies ultimately are captured by the GIs. They are stripped of their weapons and their clothes, driven to the middle of the woods,
and tied to trees.
Tied to trees. And left there until the end of this incident, by the way, because they don't tell anybody where they are. So
options exist. I'm just saying.
Yeah, they're just all out there, naked, tied to trees. So they're looking for more guns. A local says, well, we can go to the National Guard Armory and we can go get more guns there. So they go to the National Guard Armory and they retrieve a bunch of weapons. The official account tends to say that they broke in. However, the ultimate investigation by the National Guard said there's no evidence of any breaking and entering, which means they're probably let in by the local National Guard. The National Guard was, to be fair, in the pocket of the machine. However, one, they're all showing up with a bunch of fucking guns.
Like, you can almost imagine that conversation, like, hey, there's 7 cops in the woods back there, naked, tied to trees. Give us all the M14s. Like, let's go.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah, well, and on top of that, and I've brought that in, like, my girlfriend's seen this firsthand and stuff, is these guys are combat veterans, right? They're all very recent combat veterans. They're all hard fucks. And what I've experienced myself is that having been active duty, having been in combat in multiple theaters of combat and things, when you encounter guys who are National Guard, whatever you say goes, man. They hero worship you so hard, you can get them to do anything. They will just whatever you want them to do. Like, oh yeah, you want to. So like, hey man, you want to go skydiving with me tomorrow? Oh yeah, sure.
Okay,
like they've never been in a plane before. They've certainly never. You're just like, yeah, let's go skydiving, and they're like, okay, like. So I have a feeling that's what happens here. So, but they get in and they retrieve a bunch of M1917s. So it needs to be pointed out, not M1 Garands, as you might think, because this is 1946. The Guard doesn't get the new stuff. It's M1917s. And they get a bunch of Thompsons.
Yep.
Thompson submachine guns, at least 100 of them that they get, and just a fucking shit ton of ammunition for all of it. Tons of ammo.
And the documentary that we watched at this point in time makes a point of pointing out that there was a guy that took 2 45 Colt revolvers, put them in his waist under his Hawaiian shirt.
Yes. So
Yes.
Jimmy, it might be Jimmy. I think it's Lockneller. It might be Lockmeller. But he grabs a pair of 45 caliber revolvers and shoves them in his waist underneath the Hawaiian shirt he's wearing for the party.
If that's the name, then we need some fucking fresh off the hot press, like, remember Lockmeller Boogaloo fucking propaganda.
Andrew, get a hold of Dave. Let's get this done.
Like, let's just
Poppins patches. I'm telling you.
Yeah, and that's we might need to do that. Yeah, but so he's wearing a Hawaiian shirt and currently armed to dual wield 45 caliber Colt revolvers.
Peak aloha energy, bro.
Against government.
Yeah, against the government.
Against government.
They return. They take up a principal position. So their principal position is this embankment. It's the backside of a boarding house, the Wilson family boarding house, actually. So inside the Wilson family boarding house is currently the mother, because the father is still off at war. It's 46. They obviously haven't brought everybody back in, just a few months. So the husband's gone. It's the mom, 5 kids in this boarding house. And they're going to set up position because the boarding house is over here on one side of the street and directly across is the jail. And the easiest way to think of the jail is imagine like the scary haunted house. It kind of looked like that. It had this big porch, and it's all brick, and it's this big imposing Victorian looking thing, and straight across is an embankment that's about 13 feet high, and then there's the boarding house after the embankment drops down a bit right over there on the other side of the road. So they take up position in the backyard of this boarding house and in the boarding house after they evacuate the civilians, because they make sure they evacuate the civilians first and get them the hell out of the house. Set up positions in there. They set up positions on the embankment. The embankment also has a bunch of trees and bushes and vines and stuff. So they have concealment, they have cover. It's a really, really solid position. They also set up inside the house, the boarding house, which is built out of brick, the same way as the jail is. So also pretty good cover from the guns of the day. They're set up.
An elevated position. It's just
Yep.
tactically.
It's
a really
beautiful,
good
like consistently through this.
And that's where the I don't even think it's confirmed, but it's the only picture we think that comes out of this whole incident. Is a guy in the boarding house with like a t-shirt, I think like wrapped around his fucking head, shirtless, like pointing a gun out.
That photo. So that photo is taken inside the Wilson family boarding house by a Knoxville journalist, Knoxville Journal photographer. It's the one and only actual photo from during the siege. Any others that you see are staged. They're all staged. Like they may be the guys who were there, but they're all staged to look like they're in combat. In that photo is David Hudsell. He's actually the guy who has the shirt over his head. He had been a rifleman in the army, served across France, Belgium, Germany before he came back. He's pretty much one of the co-leaders with White. Then there's also Ken Nashburn. You're going to see him kind of behind the other two. He's in a white t-shirt in the back. And last is Sam Sims. He's the one in the Navy outfit. He had actually served with his 4 brothers and his dad in the Navy. All 6 of them actually had gone to war and come back. And most of them are involved in this fight. So
family matters.
It's a family tradition.
Yep, and that's the one and only photo. Until very, very recently, we didn't actually even know who those guys were. That's something that the guy who actually wrote the book called. What's the book called?
He said that the entire area was like, they rallied around these guys. That like the whole community rallied around these guys because they essentially saved the community. And so they just tight-lipped and didn't say a fucking thing for like years and years and years and years.
Years and years. Even the guy who actually ran the campaign.
That's some really nice OPSEC PERSEC.
The guy who actually even ran the campaign for the GI ticket. His kids didn't even know that he had been involved in this at all until he had died. He died in the 80s, and then like 2006 or something, his wife died, their mother. And when they died, they finally went into the safe that they said they had literally never seen opened. And when they went into it, there's just all these letters between them and photographs and stuff from the campaign speeches and all this other stuff and like sketches of things. I mean, just this treasure trove.
That's on point OPSEC.
Yeah, I mean, and it doesn't get found until 2006. This is 1946, so this is a huge.
To be fair, like there's no reason to believe that at any point they could have gone back and charged the fuck out of any of those dudes.
Oh, we'll get there.
The precedent was there. They could have done it. Like,
we'll get there. We'll get there. So anyway, so they set up these fantastic positions, and they then basically yell to the cops. There's 250 cops inside.
They brought not only that, they brought like deputies from other counties.
Yep.
To Athens. They brought the jail guards from other jails to the county. They released prisoners.
Yep, they released
specifically to have them come to Athens on their side.
Yep. So this is like they are going all out here. There's about 250 armed men inside this jail where they have taken all of the ballots. And their excuse for taking all the ballots was all the violence at the polling place, which is, of course, their violence. But that's been their excuse. So now they have all this stuff there, and these guys are now setting up in this beautiful, tactically sound position. If you look at the way that the city's laid out, there was no way for any of the cops to have left out the back. They're going out the front if they're going anywhere. I mean, it's a jail, right? It's designed to not be easy to leave.
One cop did try to run.
He's shot in the leg.
He got shot in the leg and laid there for hours.
Yeah, hours, because he is shot in the leg. He drops in the front yard, and there are rounds being exchanged over his head for the next few hours as he lays there bleeding.
A lot of fucking rounds.
Oh, yeah.
So many rounds.
I think there's a picture of if I remember correctly, there's a picture of the jail afterwards, and you can see this building is shot to fuck. Like it is.
Oh yeah,
fuck.
it is an enormous amount of fire.
It's not move bombing bad, but it's pretty fucked up.
Yeah, you're talking about, at 1917s, which are 30-06, I think.
Yes.
So you have 30-06 rounds. You have Tommy gun fire, extended Tommy gun fire coming from these guys. So 45.
Let's don't forget the Molotov cocktails.
Yeah, they're lobbing Molotov cocktails. They actually Molotov cocktailed every single cop car outside of the jail.
They were trying to reach the jail, but they couldn't. They were too far away to hit it with the Molotov, so they ended up having to use dynamite.
Yeah, the cars are the next best thing. So eventually what happens is a sustained gunfire is occurring, and the deputies finally, they wave a white flag for a second. And they go, look, if you don't back off, we're going to execute because they had taken hostages from the polling place. We're going to execute the hostages if you don't back off. That's what's going to happen. And in response, Tommy guns open up directly at them. And just and so they dive back in. Ultimately, they don't execute any hostages, but that was
they would not have left alive if they had actually killed those hostages.
No.
Oh yeah, that's it. So they get met with a shit ton of gunfire. In fact, during all of this gunfire, because it's shooting through the glass, it's coming in through the walls eventually, it's coming through the door. One deputy tries to grab the phone to call the National Guard and has 2 rounds hit him. One blows his thumb off, the other one smashes through his face. So you can't even poke your head up to window level at this point. There's so much fire coming from the GIs at this stage. It is just stay down and pray level. The irony is he went to call the National Guard. The National Guard's already on its way. They ultimately never actually showed up. And that leaves the question, were they showing up to help the cops or were they showing up to help the GIs?
Weren't they already practically cleaned out by the GIs? I mean...
not really. I mean, they had a lot of weapons and ammunition gone, but they certainly had a lot of other stuff, I'm sure.
That's fair.
So the National Guard ultimately doesn't get there, but because of the local communication chain, the guys who are there already know that the National Guard is on their way. So they're like, we have to get this done quick. Like if they show up and they're on the cop's side, things are going to go very badly. We need to get this done. And one of the locals goes, hey, I have a bunch of dynamite.
You gotta imagine this conversation's happening while there's just perpetual fucking gunfire going on.
In the middle of the Chicago typewriter, just. I
just imagine some like yeehaw motherfucker in like overalls just walking up and tapping a GI on his shoulder and be like, "Hey."
Yeah, there is audio.
Piece of straw hanging out of his mouth.
Yeah. There is audio from a reporter who recorded there, who was there, because obviously there's a bunch of reporters, like I said. There is audio. There's no video, no film footage or anything, but there is audio for radio of the gunfire, and you can hear the bursts of Tommy gun fire. They're very controlled, deliberate bursts. You can hear all of these rifles going, and then they die down for a second, and then you hear a couple of shots that sound like they're pistol, and then all of these rifles open back up again, and you hear bam, 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 bam. And the reporter's just scared shitless.
Because it's probably some like local bumfuck reporter. Like, this is not a war journalist. Like,
yeah, and he's like, "Oh my god,
you are today, motherfucker."
Yeah, and you can hear, and in that audio recording, you can hear the first piece of dynamite go off. So they light a piece of dynamite and they hurl it at the jail. It hits the outside. It goes off. It blows a hole in the yard, but it doesn't do a whole lot. They chuck a few more. Again, it like flips some cars at one point. It doesn't do a lot because it's individual pieces of dynamite against a big brick jail.
Yeah.
So it's not doing a lot. So then
escalation of violence.
Yeah, one of the guys is like, this is dragging out. The National Guard's gonna get here. I still have a box of dynamite. So he
five
takes 5 of
sticks.
them and bundles them together and twists all of the fuses because he was a combat engineer. So he understands how to do this. And he's like, so I'm going to light this. You guys are going to throw down covering fire. I'm going to run up. I'm going to chuck this at the front door.
So he essentially just made a satchel charge. Like a ghetto satchel charge.
Yeah. Well, again, you got throughout this whole thing, it's so beautifully executed because these guys have been fighting in war for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. They know how to do this stuff. They don't even have modern communications. They don't even have radio or anything else. They just instinctively know. They've been in combat so long. They know how to do this. They've done it before a lot. They're doing it again.
If only there was a oppressed community that had like 20 years worth of veterans.
A whole bunch of vets who knew how to fight and had been in combat and been trained and maybe picked up books like that. And
that is a phenomenal read, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, if only. So yeah, sedition, subversion, sabotage. Oh, I got tons of them over here. I got a bunch of special forces stuff. I got I got a warfare guide. So anyway, so they're doing all of this stuff to throw down suppressive fire. They keep the cops' heads down. He runs up with this lit thing of 5 pieces of dynamite, lobs it onto the front porch, which is all brick, and then runs back. This thing goes off in a tremendous fashion. It actually almost
porch.
Yeah, it almost completely obliterates the porch and lifts the jail partially off of its foundations and pushes it back slightly.
Fucking just like insane that nobody died. It's spectacular that nobody fucking died.
Yeah, it's.
I think they call that danger close nowadays.
Yeah, well, I mean, not only is that terrifying because these bricks have got to be sailing through the air, but on top of it, you got to remember this is dynamite, right? This isn't modern high explosive that explodes very, very quickly. It's modern. It's dynamite, so it pushes. It doesn't kabang all at once. It's a different type of explosive. It's a much slower explosive, so it just shoves the building. But that whole building, I guarantee you, was like, and everyone's like, "Oh God!" And this is again where their training, their superb combat experience and training and everything comes in. As soon as that explosion goes off, they're up and they're laying down 10 times more fire than they have previously. It is massive amounts of fire, and they're beginning to push towards the prison. So they're now moving on it immediately in the wake of this huge explosion. There's even more rounds coming through, and they're coming from closer. And in that moment, the cops start yelling, "We surrender! We surrender! We surrender!"
Sweet fucking Jesus, stop shooting.
Yeah. At that point, they're like, "Oh my God," which is such a superb thing. Because, I mean, you other guys who are vets, you get trained with a grenade. As soon as that grenade goes off, you push up into that room. You do not give them a chance to recover from that grenade, which is exactly what they did. The explosion goes off. They immediately start pushing and throw down suppressive fire. It's so textbook. It's so perfect. I was just like as I was reading through that and watching documentaries on it, I was like, "Oh, yes, that. Do that. That is exactly what you should be doing. Yes, that is the thing. Exactly what you should be doing." It's so perfectly done. And these cops all shit themselves and give up. And once they give up, they move in. Miraculously, no one in this whole firefight, none of these cops thought to destroy any of the ballots.
So always the question of if they even could get to the room, because I do remember that there was like a front room and they had the ballots like in a back room. So
yeah,
they might not even be able to like make it to that room. There was just such a high volume of fucking fire.
Yep, and they count the ballots. Turns out that the GI ticket obviously won across the board by an overwhelming majority. The cops concede. Everybody that's part of the machine in the county concedes. It creates a domino effect and makes the entire machine collapse across the state of Tennessee as a direct result of this. One of the things that I find interesting is that up to when the shooting started, when Gillespie gets shot and then makes it there, and all of the majority, probably 3/4 of the guys who are there, are shocked that they would shoot him. And White just looks at them and goes, and he's actually the one who fired the first shot, by the way. And White just looks at them and goes, well, you boys didn't think that they were actually going to let you win this election, did you? Like, after everything.
Oh, that doesn't sound familiar.
Yeah, after 10 years, 10 years of this, 10 years of the machine controlling this and dominating elections and violent voter intimidation and everything, they still clung so hard to the idea that if we can just beat them in an election fair and square, they'll have to leave and we'll get power. Even after that, they still clung to it so hard.
So what you're saying is that White was a boog and the rest of them were 3%ers.
Yeah, pretty much.
Initially, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oath
Yeah,
keepers. They were all oath keepers.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, White and Hudsell for sure were boo guys. But I mean that's what it was though. It's like White just like looked at them, and in the tapes he says that he's like, I just looked at him just confused, like, did you honestly think that they were just gonna like concede the election and let you win? You really thought they were gonna let you win this election? Are you kidding me? Like, again, it's been 10 years of them doing this. You know what this is going, and that is how indoctrinated these guys were. They even lived in this place where all of this was going on for a decade, and they still thought.
Today's the 75th anniversary of that.
Today
August 1st, 2021 is the
shit.
75th anniversary, which is why I wanted to bring that up, because of the correlation, 75th anniversary of all that, but also the correlation of that to now, and the Boog movement, and what the Boog stands for, and what, like, people like yourself and Andrew and Trash and all these other guys, that's what we espouse, right? I mean, that's the kind of thing that we talk about.
And the most important thing with that, and like what I try to describe the difference between our movement and all the other, like, quote unquote militias or armed movements, is all of them still worship the fucking cops. All of them, the 3%ers, the oath keepers, the fucking bikers, the neo-Nazis even, they have cop worship. And we're the only people that are like, fuck the police. Like, you know how many people I saw on Facebook that, like, I saw like a cab in their bio or something, and I'm like, oh, this guy's probably like some annoying fucking like Berkeley, California dude. And they start posting Boog memes, and I was like, wait, what's going on here? You know, like, what the fuck's happening here?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's an epidemic. I mean, just this cop worship, military worship, this ridiculous idea of how, like, somehow if we just vote harder, if we just work within the system, man, it'll all be okay. And they're so dedicated to this idea that if they just work within the system, and like, this is 10 years of this so blatantly that they're not even trying to hide it. And all of these
beating
people,
the fuck out of people at the polls, fucking like harassing people, following people home and shit. Like
the year before this, 1945, an actual service member had been home on leave and had been shot by one of the cops for nothing. And the cop, nothing had ever happened, nada.
Gosh, that doesn't happen today.
Huh? No, I don't remember a black dude in a Suburban in a gas station video that was just released. You know,
I don't remember some poor overweight white guy whose shorts were falling off who was executed in a motel hallway or anything like that.
Yeah.
And that bums me out, because Thaddeus Russell had his widow on, and Casey, and she was like. She was like explicitly calling for like people to do a protest for her, and I was like screaming like, "Hey guys, can we do a protest for her? Like, I know all you motherfuckers like constantly talk about Daniel Shaver, and even like conservatives and gun people. Well, like, here she is like calling for y'all to show up. Nobody fucking did."
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the same with
Ryan. To open their mouth and espouse a bunch of shit, but when it comes time to actually suit up and show up to the party, the vast majority of them are going to sit there and shit themselves.
Yeah, that's like when Ryan Whitaker's brother was on Biting the Bullet, and Biting the Bullet's like, hey, yeah, they got this link for shirts, and there's a protest coming up and all this other stuff, and then like that was it. It died. There was no protest. Nothing ever happened. Right.
That's
So
it, 'cause I had
the same with Johnny Hurley. I saw your video on Johnny Hurley, and there was like we're gonna march, on the Arvada Police Department, and there was like what 7 people showed up.
7 people, one of which was Ford Fisher, a fucking journalist, and the other was the organizer of the fucking protest. 7 people.
Yeah.
It drives me fucking insane. Like you people, and that's why like I had a rant on Facebook. I wish I saved it because it was so good, where I like took like the libertarian like Boogaloo Duncan Lemp take against the concept of all lives matter, because it's like people like us in this call, we could say all lives matter because we show up to this fucking shit and we get mad at George Floyd, we get mad at Ryan, we get mad at everybody. But the motherfuckers that say that all the time, they don't show up for shit. They don't even show up for when the cops get killed. So it literally means nothing. It means fucking nothing.
Well, yeah, I mean the fucking when Philando Castile got killed, because he's local to me and Chris. I mean it's Twin Cities. We're a couple hours south of Twin Cities. When Philando Castile got killed, I was beyond lit over Philando Castile.
Even
legal concealed carrier, no duty to inform. He does it anyway as a courtesy. He's a nice guy. He's a high school janitor. Everybody loves. He gets executed by a trigger-happy cop who's just gone through Warrior
Facebook Live.
Yeah, on Facebook Live, who's just gone through Warrior Cop training, and no one says anything. And I'm on Facebook tagging the NRA. I'm tagging freaking all of these gun groups, everything. Like, dude, he was a legal concealed carrier who got killed by a trigger-happy cop. Like, even you should be on the board with a protest on this. Like, we should be, in the streets demanding justice. No one did shit.
The NRA didn't say anything on that.
The same thing fucking happened up there in Minneapolis with that. Was it Damond was her name? She called the cops because there was somebody. She was experiencing an intruder or something like that. And the cops showed up and just fucking executed her.
Yeah, and it made me so mad because Tim Pool, just like last month or some shit, had some cop on, some black guy fucking cop. And they brought up Philando Castile as like, obviously this is a bad thing. And the cop was like, well, hang on. I was like, well, hang on, fucking nothing. And he's like, well, he was acting nervous. I'm like, fuck you, dude. Like, seriously?
Of course he was acting nervous. There was an armed man standing next to his window, and he had to reach near his gun for a wallet. Of course he was nervous.
How dare you act nervous while there's a fucking Glock pointed at your face?
Right, and this isn't new. This is like happening for a long time. Like, another one of my big red flags or red flags. One of my big red pills was Kelly Thomas.
Yes. Everybody forgets about Kelly, and that one was the worst.
And I share it every single year, right? I share the photos, and I share this big write-up that I did on his birthday, and then I shared on the day that he was beat, and I shared on the day that he was died. And this last time on Twitter, it got like 1,500 shares or something like that, which is a kind of a really big deal for me. And there's people like, oh, how come I never heard about this? How come where's Kelly's protest? And I'm like, the fuck have you not been paying attention? Like this isn't new. Like,
yeah, what do you mean? Where the fuck are some of us have been screaming about Kelly Thomas for years?
Yeah. Click on Yahoo. That's every single day on Yahoo. There's a story about somebody being killed by the police.
Yeah, and the media only covers the ones that are beneficial to them. But like, we had the whole Anthony Hoolin event in Lansing where they fucking killed the dude in jail in the exact same way they killed George Floyd. Even worse, because he was in jail and there was 4 fucking cops, not just one, with their fucking knee on him.
Oh, and then the flip side is like the Whitmer kidnapping, where like 12 of the 13 people were fucking FBI.
13
oh yeah, and I'm super excited for the media because I'm gonna put myself in the media sites again because I'm just a fucking madman. We're gonna have a protest in front of the fucking Capitol building. We're going to the Capitol building on the 20th of August.
Honestly, that whole thing is what has made me nervous to go to even like MPLF, right? Midwest Peace and Liberty Fest, which is in Michigan. It's even made me nervous to cross over into Michigan. Is that because I've seen how many feds there are involved there, and it makes me terrified of even.
And here's a detail most people aren't aware of. the head director of the FBI field office in Detroit, immediately after the Whitmer case, I think it was in November, he was transferred to Washington, D.C., and now he's involved with the January 6th shit. So the guy that had 12 informants to arrest, 10 informants to arrest 4 guys happened to be transferred to DC right before the other thing where the Oath Keepers were a bunch of feds, the Proud Boys are a bunch of feds. It's like,
It's almost like Operation Northwoods is a thing.
Oh, gee,
weird.
look at that. In the Northwoods initially. Look at that. What a coincidence. I mean, but so in the aftermath of the Battle of Athens is really interesting because in the aftermath, the cops concede. Everybody concedes.
The cops go away. They just go away. Like,
yep. They
the veterans that were there, they played roof Korean for like 2 weeks because they were expecting some sort of like, counter assault. Nothing ever happened.
Yep. And here I will tell you exactly why nothing happened. So within less than a week of that happening. Well, within less than a week of that happening. Now, keep in mind, nobody who was involved in this left the community. They're all still there. An FBI agent investigated. The FBI agent, within 2 days, received no confirmation from any eyewitnesses. Nobody could corroborate that anything had happened. Nobody had seen anything, and he closed his investigation. Mm-hmm. The National Guard investigated and found that no one had ever, in fact, broken in to the National Guard armory, and that this was all rumors, and no one had seen anything. No investigation that found a single thing, or had found a single thing, except one. One investigation did find things. An investigation by the Department of Justice into the corruption that was rife prior to the Battle of Athens. And what they found was, and I quote, the single worst and most egregious set of violations and corruption this office has ever seen. They are the only investigation that found anything. No other investigation found shit, which means that all of those cops quietly went away because they were quite aware that all of these people are still in the community and are very willing to shoot at me should I say a thing.
And at the very least, tie my ass naked to a tree.
Yeah. They did. It should be mentioned, they did eventually post-battle go back and get them. But they did leave them out there for hours.
Overnight, right?
I don't think it was overnight, but I think it was dark by the time they retrieved them. And so this is darkness in the woods of western Tennessee. This is
there's black bears in those woods.
Yeah, that would have been making me a little nervous if I were one of them. And it's not like it's gonna get super warm. Like, yeah, okay, it's August, but and this is August 2nd before the gunfire stops. The Battle of Athens is truly over. So we're talking about an extended gun battle. I mean, even at modern standards. I mean, most of the gun battles I was in, 10 minutes. 5 minutes, maybe. They seemed like an eternity, but they're really, really, really short because you get super tired really fast in a gunfight.
Adrenaline dump is real.
Yeah, the longest gun battle that I was in lasted. It was on a mountain in Afghanistan, and it lasted 4.5 hours. And by the time it was done, because Apaches showed up and saved our asses, I collapsed and just laid there for a while because I was so tired. I was so exhausted. So I can't even imagine. These guys are keeping up this volume of fire with bolt action rifles, mostly, 1917s, Springfields. And they are sustaining this fire for hours and hours.
Those are some hard motherfuckers.
Jesus. Well, they fought their way across Tarawa and Saipan and Iwo Jima and, the Battle of the Coral Sea. And like, these guys have seen shit.
The Pacific Theater was not cool. It was not a fucking easy place to be.
No.
But I bring this up to a lot of people too, because it's, because I have seen combat and I've seen a lot of guerrilla warfare and kind of civil warfare. if you want to study what a civil war in the United States would probably look like, look at how the Philippines was fought. Look at how Saipan and Tarawa went. Look at how those fights went, the viciousness and the nastiness and the very personal nature of a lot of the fighting. Look at that, because that's what you're going to see. And if you're unprepared for that, then you don't want a part of it and leave.
Yep. No fucking hard asses or fake motherfuckers. That's the one thing that always kind of annoys me is you do have the guys in the move, like people like me, Trash, Old, a lot of the older guys, we get it that like the point is to hopefully avoid this and or make it as least fucky as humanly possible. You do have guys in the movement that think it'll be the coolest thing in the world, and it's like, kid.
Oh yeah, they think it'll
they
be
have no idea.
Yeah,
what they're
they think it'll
in
be like
for.
Call of Duty. Chris and I are in a group, a chat with a few guys locally who kind of seem to think that's it'll be this cool thing. You know, you'll be like Call of Duty, man.
Trash keeps making all these memes of like you're fucking knee
Oh,
deep
they're
in
fucking
shit
gold.
and fucking you feel like ass and you haven't eaten in 4 days and you're fucking tired. Welcome to the Boogaloo. 'Cause that's what it is. Like this is gonna be.
Yeah.
So to sum it up, like
what was that, Trash?
Oh, you're muted, Trash.
You're mute. We can't hear you.
I wonder how long he's been muted.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Nope, not yet. Check.
Nope.
Have you been talking this whole time while muted? Oh, poor Trash.
Poor Trash. No.
Living up to his name here, man.
Yeah, it's we lost Old already and completely.
Old went to bed. He's a retiree. That's what it is.
Well, he's living up to his name too. Then.
Old
right,
men.
hold on.
There we
There
go.
you are.
There we go.
All right. That's what we're gonna have to do. I just can't use the mic for some reason. It's busted or some shit. I don't know. It's a nice ass mic too. Yeah. So apparently y'all have been starved of my brilliant commentary for quite some time.
I was wondering.
Yeah,
why
I didn't know
Yeah,
how
I
long.
was wondering that too. Actually, as we
Yeah,
were
I
going
was
through the
wondering who you were
battle list.
talking to. Like if you were talking to the one who keeps coming in or not.
I'm old too. I'm just
Oh,
not
please!
old.
You're probably about the same age as I am.
Yeah, I'm 37. So
Fucking
Yeah,
how old
youngsters.
you are, but I'm
You're just
old.
a
pushing
year
it,
older
right?
than I am.
Old. 2 years older than me. You're old. Okay.
Andrew,
Laughs in 27. Fuck all y'all.
Right.
My kids are
Okay.
21.
Fuck all y'all.
Holy Christ, you are old.
Yeah, I'm 41.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a 9-year-old. Fuck that.
I have 21-year-old twins.
Jesus.
Yeah. My
Yeah,
twins
I was
are
late,
11.
though. I was 28 when I had my kid.
my oldest is 15.
You got? Don't you have one coming like next week?
Next month.
Next month.
Jesus, got a breeder.
Uh,
Holy
No,
fuck,
but-
we've
Bro,
almost been going for
outbreed the
3 hours,
status.
boys.
Yeah,
What's that?
I got
Well-
222 on the recording.
Yeah.
Holy fuck.
I will say though, I mean, like people will stick around for this. They will. That story.
We have a small but loyal following.
Yeah. That's
No, I'll definitely share this
Inexplicably.
out because I really do believe the 3 events in American history that are not taught about but need to be fucking talked about is Blair Mountain, Battle of Athens, Tennessee, and it's late so I'm blanking on the name. The massacre in fucking Georgia, not Georgia. Was it Oklahoma? Fucking Trash. You know what I'm talking about?
Black Wall Street?
Yeah, the whole events
But-
around Black.
No,
Yeah.
Oklahoma,
Wall
yeah.
Street.
yeah.
I actually had 2 years ago, I had the opportunity to actually meet somebody who had lived on Black Wall Street during those events.
That was Tulsa.
And
Yeah.
Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Tulsa race riots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she her dad had died in it. She was super interesting to hear from. She was just that especially her remembering the world before, like what that looked like before and how amazing it was and everything else. And it's so heartbreaking. Like it just destroys you to
But
hear
it's-
that.
Like that combined with the move bombing, like if you combine all 4 of
Oh
those
my
events,
goodness.
I just listed
Mhm.
all 4 of those events I just listed.
The 85 move, right?
Yes,
Yeah. The
the
85
move
move is
bombing needs
not
to
the
be
82
covered
one.
too.
Because like Waco's covered a lot, so you can add Waco in there. But if you add all those events together, what you learn is that A, armed people can take on the government, and B, the government will use weapons of war against fucking American people without hesitation. And that's probably why they're not taught in.
Ruby Ridge is coming up. The anniversary of Ruby Ridge is coming up. But like one of the things that blew me away from Ruby Ridge is like in 1991, when they were surveilling Randy Weaver, they at the time spent $250,000 on surveillance in 1991 dollars.
What would that be now? Hang on, let me. I have
an
inflation
for a guy that allegedly cut his shotgun barrel too short.
But that was.
And then he ultimately wasn't, because it was not in fact actually too short.
Yeah, because that whole period of the early 90s was the ATF and the DEA like desperately trying to justify their fucking existence. So they were just looking for anything.
That would be $498,707.78
$500,000 to surveil one guy
over a sawed-off shotgun.
Allegedly.
I mean, you got to think how much they're spending investigating on some of us over.
They just
dude,
they just approved a what was it, like $2.1 billion to increase the security for the Capitol building.
Oh yeah, you want to have fun. If you want to have fun sometime, you can submit Freedom of Information Act requests online. Submit one on your own name. You want to have fun? Because here's where it gets fun. Because
I don't know if I want to know.
So what will happen?
You're on a list once you do that anyway.
What will happen is you may get stuff from some smaller sources. You may get stuff from the FBI. What you will get is either a file on you from the Central Intelligence Agency, a file that says we found no record of any such individual, or if there is currently an active investigation from either the CIA or the NSA, you will receive a reply that we can neither confirm nor deny that there has ever been any record of such an individual in our files.
That's fun. And if you want to have,
so we're not getting anything.
None of us are getting anything.
Oh yeah, this is 5
and
for
before
5. We are not confirming nor denying.
Yeah. And I would love to see like my personal bill to the government. That's the thing. Like every one of us look at our personal tab of how much money they've spent. But
that would be phenomenal.
Before I jump off though, because I do have to get going. If you want to have more fun, you can come to Washington D.C. on September 11th and yell at the FBI headquarters building with me, like I did a couple months ago, because we're having a anti-war protest in Washington D.C. 20th anniversary of September 11th. Scott Horton's going to be speaking. A bunch of shit's going to be going on. It's super cool.
I wish my wife is scheduled. My wife is scheduled to deliver on the 14th. So
what is that? InTheDamnWars.com or something like that?
InTheDamnWars.org, and it's InTheDamnWars on Twitter. And if you can't make it, do your fucking local events. Go out to your city hall and fucking with a printed off sign and scream at some people that we're bombing 7 countries, have active military personnel in 14, over 900 almost permanently contaminated environmental disaster sites that are directly due to the U.S. military across the world.
And if you're a vet and you're going to go to those events, please, for the love of God, wear your uniform.
And don't forget the one of the stats that just absolutely blew me away is 4 times as many vets since 9/11 have committed suicide than have died in actual combat.
Yeah, we have the Defend the Guard guys showing up. If you know who they are, they do the whole Defend the Guard legislation. We're gonna have a couple of them speak, and then we're trying to find some actual like refugee people from the area to talk about like the civvy side of it, and then we're gonna have like Scott Horton and shit talking. Tulsi Gabbard might show up. That's not confirmed yet, but that'll be interesting. We can talk about culturally appropriating her entire culture for our movement. It'll be fun. But yeah, so, I do have to bounce out because it's almost fucking.
All right, where can people find you?
Yeah, so I'm just Magnus Panvidia on Twitter, and it's Panvidia Magnus because my first account got banned, and then YouTube it's Magnus Panvidia, and then I have a Castbox and Spotify is the Unity or Death podcast, and I just uploaded my interview with Jason Burmis, where we went through the history of the FBI and all of the terrorist attacks that they fucking create. And that was cool. Love Jason. He's the one who did the Loose Change 9/11 documentary that probably everyone's fucking seen.
Yep.
So that was super cool to talk to him. But yeah, that's where you can find me.
All right. Hey, thanks, Magnus. Thanks for showing
Thanks
up,
for
man.
joining us.
This is an honor,
Appreciate it.
honestly.
Later, homie.
Deuces.
Later, man.
All right, Chash, man. Yeah, let's get out of here, man. Where can people find you? Where's your
Yeah,
throw,
I'm just on
throw your
Twitter.
2 cents out there.
It's just Twitter. It's Trashman BIB, and that's where I just make my trashy memes. And
How many people were in that Facebook group before it got deleted?
the group was like, I don't remember, like 30 something thousand. The page, we had 40 some odd thousand likes. Yeah, it was fun while it lasted, man. We had those few hot months, like y'all were saying, when we kind of did the communist thing and brought on Pigeon and all of that. Wanted to throw everybody for a loop. It was so much fun. It was the
Yeah,
time.
that is what generated my comment, was laughing that you bunch of commies. 'Cause you're-
Oh yeah, and that's what it was. It's the full controversy of that, and then everything it was like 1,000 people every week just started pouring into the page, and then it was like, at that point it was just like, say what we want, use it how we can, and fuck it. So it worked, and it was great until they didn't like what we had to say and got rid of it.
Can't imagine why they did.
It's all fun and games till someone loses a Facebook account, I guess.
Right? Yeah. Well,
realistically, it's all fun and games until your dog gets shot.
Yeah. So they're bringing it to real life at this point. So can't stop, won't stop. What's the point?
Can't stop the signal, and there's no ending an idea whose time has come.
Right.
Yeah. All right.
It won't stop with me.
No.
Thanks, gentlemen.
All right. Thanks, Josh, man.
Thanks for joining us, man. Take her easy.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Throw out your plugs. Let's get out of here.
All right.
That was fun.
It was fun.
Blast.
Yeah, that was a blast. Hope everybody listening and or watching enjoyed that. That was fun. My evil plan came together.
No, like it just I don't know. There's certain people that you meet through social media that you just I don't know, you vibe with.
Yeah.
Right? Like Andrew and I. When Andrew and I first started talking on Facebook, it was like instant. We vibed right away.
Yep.
Well, and that's what happened with Andrew and I too when we first started talking. It was like, at that time we didn't necessarily agree on everything, but at the same time, it's like there's a connection there.
Yeah. Like I don't even drink anymore, and I would have a beer with either of those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we all vibe real well. I mean, that's one of the beautiful things. Actually, it's one of the beautiful things about not just anarchism, but the Boog movement. That we ultimately, at the end of the day, we all have the same kind of goals. We all want the same thing, and that's what Magnus pushes so hard is unity.
Yeah.
And making sure that that we all understand we have similar goals, like we can work together. I mean, I've argued with people like my ideas don't require unity because they don't, because my ideals are freedom.
Yeah,
my
Carl
ideals
has
are,
Black Flag. Do you do your thing too?
Yeah, I don't need true unity with anybody, plain and simple, but I'm willing to work with whoever to achieve what I want and what I think is right and what humanity needs. And
all right,
that's impressive. But plug wise, if you want to care for your beard like a Viking, and I know I do, you definitely want to check out thebeardstruggle.com. And if you use code InkedAnarchist25, or sorry, 15, wrong website, 15 there, InkedAnarchist 15. When you're at thebeardstruggle.com, when you go to order, you will in fact save yourself 15% on really cool beard products. They just added new scents that are also probably awesome. I haven't smelled them yet, but I'm going to be ordering some, and they're fantastic. When my beard was super long, guess how I cared for it with the Beard Struggle and all of their products. They're super awesome. Fellow beard Vikings include guys like Hafthor Bjornsson and his epic beard, and other bodybuilders and other guys.
Eddie Hall's on.
Eddie Hall's another one. They're all fellow beard Vikings, and it's super cool, and we're amazing. And why would we ever promote a product that we didn't love? So check out thebeardstruggle.com. Use code InkedAnarchist15 or use InkedAnarchist25 on shopvalerio.com or AvantiCrio.com, and you can get some pretty decent streetwear. You can get some cool watches, cool sunglasses, look pretty cool while your beard also looks cool. So use that code and you support me when you do it. And who doesn't want to do that?
You know, Andrew, I just have to point out you're looking a little extra salty on the chin since it's starting to come back.
Yeah,
he's
my beard
old.
has gone a little gray.
He's younger than both of us, Jason.
Yeah, but he's Irish old.
Dude,
Oh,
you
fair
don't
enough.
even you haven't even seen my hair because I always wear hats. Like my hair is so gray now, and like even my mom looked and was like, "Oh
At
Jesus!"
least you fucking have hair.
Oh, that's true. That's true. I have a lot of hair.
I have none. Part of that's because I shave it, but
Yeah.
I started shaving it because up here on top, it was either shave it or do like my dad didn't have this world's worst comb over thing going on.
Oh God.
And
Yeah,
I just
got
opted to shave it.
I got
Yeah,
engine privilege.
Yeah, I haven't gotten a haircut in like a year, and I keep meaning to and don't. But yeah, it's my beard though, as gray as it is. You know what? Gray hair usually gets really coarse, and mine's not. So I still thoroughly endorse the products that I use.
Christopher.
Just follow us. If you're over on MeWe, come and find us. Anarchy Among Friends Roundtable Discussion. We have our own page over there. I post the link to the Rumble video over there every week. We're obviously up over on Rumble. I have my own channel over there, Valhallarchist. Come find us, follow us.
Linked in the description.
Linked in the description. I don't demand that you completely abandon mainstream tech. As Eric July says, 51%. Just 51%.
So, yep. On that note, this has been a truly fantastic episode. Like, I had a really good time. I'm glad Andrew, the history guy, was here because I would not have been able to get through all that. And just Magnus is wonderful. Trashman's fantastic. Oldman, he had some really, really good points that he chimed in with, and that was just a good time.
Yeah.
So, but
good all around experience.
Hopefully we can talk Magnus into coming back at some point, maybe, and we can.
Closer to the 9/11 anniversary.
Yeah, and we can maybe do something about 9/11 and the wars and everything else, and it would be cool. It'd definitely be cool.
So, on that note, this has been episode. I didn't even look up the episode number.
I think we're on
145. Whatever.
Probably 145.
We'll figure it out later. This is Anarchy Monk for
most professional podcast in the world.
If you guys have stuck around this long, we love you. Please share with your friends so that we can love them too.
And we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.
Peace.